Welcome to one of the most ambitious videos that I have ever attempted on this channel. In this video, I'm going to attempt to uncover every mystery and bizarre piece of trivia linked to Bleach. This is the ultimate Bleach Berg, an insane structure with several layers of untold secrets about the world of Bleach. If you think that you know everything that there is to know about Ichigo and the Soul Society and the vast world created by Tite Kubo, then this is the perfect video to test the upper limits of your knowledge. For those of you who do not know what an iceberg video is, simply imagine that it's like visiting the underground great archives of the Soul Society. This contains all of the knowledge and history of the Soul Society. Now, at the surface of the great archive, you're going to find information that is known to everybody, but as you dig deeper, you're going to uncover secrets and obscure facts that will shake you to your very core. This ultimate Bleach Iceberg video will similarly begin at the top layer of commonly known facts and dive deep into each successive layer, uncovering more and more obscure and unknown secrets about our favorite series. You're going to hear about some truly insane stuff like Bleach being watched by the world's most wanted terrorist, and even to how an adult entertainer had cosplayed as Tite Kubo in his raunchy videos. So we have well over 200 factoids and obscure mysteries to dive into, so without further delay, let's begin at the sky level and descend down as we unravel how deep this rabbit hole, or should I say Garganta, goes. Let's start with the first layer, which I am calling the sky. Now, this level contains base level information. This is stuff that almost every Bleach fan will have heard about at some point or another. Don't get used to the sky level, because things are only going to get progressively bizarre the longer that you watch this video. Beginning with Bleach being a popular Japanese manga that was written and illustrated by Tite Kubo. It had started on the 7th of August 2001 and had ran for 15 years within Weekly Shonen Jump, concluding on the 22nd of August 2016. During its serialization run, it was adapted into an anime series which premiered on the 5th of October 2004. The 2004 Bleach anime, most of you will know, went on a 10-year hiatus from March 2012 to October of 2022. This thankfully ended with the release of the highly anticipated 1000 Year Blood War arc anime, which debuted on the 11th of October 2022. This latest installment aims to adapt the final manga arc of Bleach into 52 episodes, which are split across 4 cores, which consist of 13 episodes each. As of making this video, we are halfway through the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime, with the second core wrapping up on the 30th of September 2023. Most people had assumed that the new Bleach anime was going to be streaming on Crunchyroll, since they did simulcast the 2004 Bleach anime from 2009 to 2012, and they had hosted the series on their platform for over 10 years. Surprisingly, in September 2022, the original Bleach anime was abruptly pulled from Crunchyroll without warning. It was later announced that Disney Plus would have the exclusive international simulcast rights to the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime, and it would also be the new host for the 2004 original Bleach anime. And while in the United States, Hulu is simulcasting the new anime, but with recent news now that Disney is taking over Hulu, I guess that the international English streaming rights to Bleach are in the hands of Disney Plus now. Bleach had 4 animated movies that featured exclusive storylines that were not told within the anime or the manga. The first Bleach movie was titled Bleach Memories of Nobody. It was released on the 16th of December 2006. The movie focuses on a girl called Senna and the villainous group called the Dark Ones, who intend on destroying the Soul Society and the human world by taking advantage of pocket dimensions called Valley of Screams. The second movie, called Bleach the Diamond Dust Rebellion, released on the 22nd of December 2007. It has a story that is centered around Toshiro Hitsugaya, who turns rogue, abandoning his position within the Gotei 13 after he meets a mysterious Shinigami from his past. The third installment in the Bleach movie series was called Bleach Fate Black, and it was released on the 13th of December 2008. This time it is centered around Rukia Kuchiki, who has been erased from everybody's memories. This consequently leads to the Shinigami Shinigami also forgetting about Ichigo. This movie involves Ichigo regaining the trust of the Gotei 13 as they uncover the mystery behind why she was forgotten and why she ends up transforming into Dark Rukia. The fourth and final Bleach animated movie is titled Bleach Hellverse, and it was released on the 4th of December 2010. It involves Ichigo and his friends teaming up with a man named Kokuto as they enter Hell to rescue Yuzu, who has been kidnapped. While it was claimed that Kubo had overseen the writing of Hellverse, it was later revealed that his role in the movies was minimal, to the point that he had wanted his credit of executive director removed from the DVD release of this movie. This is further supported by how Kubo is now writing his own version of a story that is centered around the realm of Hell via his one-shot chapter No Breeds from Hell. In 2008, Kubo dismissed the idea of his work being adapted into a live-action movie, stating that he had wanted Bleach to be an experience that can be only found by reading the manga. In 2016, a live-action Bleach project was announced, and Kubo had decided to be involved in order to make sure that it would remain faithful to the manga. He wanted to make sure that both old and new fans could enjoy this live-action work. The Bleach live-action movie released on the 20th of July 2018. The movie roughly adapts the Substitute Shinigami arc, covering material all the way up until Rukia is taken to the Soul Society. Because of the 1 hour and 48-minute runtime of the movie, there were a lot of changes made to the adapted material. Despite this, the movie has been positively received by fans who describe it as a decent adaptation that did well considering the limitations of the live-action medium. The one common criticism that is circulated about the live-action movie is that the costumes resemble low-effort cosplay at times. Bleach fans have created several memes based off of specific moments or characters from the story. One of the most widely recognized Bleach memes involves Sosuke Aizen and his ability to seemingly predict or have prior knowledge about any event that transpires before him. This meme had stemmed from fans mocking or even admiring Aizen's self-confidence and his smug one-liners. If you were around when Bleach was airing, you'd find countless memes referring to Kubo as a troll. This is all because of how he had written Aizen as a villain. At times it felt like Aizen had planned out absolutely every single minute detail that was about to unfold in almost any and every media franchise. Like, since when were you under the impression that Aizen didn't know about the Krabby Patty secret formula?
The secret recipe for one Krabby Patty. Ground
Aizen.
Some of you may know that the name of our protagonist Ichigo Kurosaki holds multiple different meanings depending on how you interpret it. Ichigo can translate to the Japanese numbers 1, which is Ichi, and 5, which is Go, so 15, which is also the age of Ichigo at the start of the series, and it's also the number that is placed outside his bedroom door representing his name. Ichigo also translates to strawberry, which explains why chapter 1 of the series is called The Death and the Strawberry. This of course is in reference to Rukia, who is the death, and Ichigo, who of course is strawberry, and how the two of them have a fateful encounter at the start of the manga. Another way to interpret Ichigo's name is to break down the way that his name is written in kanji. This on-screen example of how it is written translates to the one who protects. During the Memories in the Rain short story arc at the start of the manga, Ichigo also explains this interpretation or meaning of his name, which thematically ties to his character's desire to protect his loved ones. While Ichigo is commonly associated with the feminine pun strawberry, which leads to him being teased, this explains why Ichigo is taken aback and surprised when Ikkaku compliments his name, as Ikkaku correctly recognized how the name is linked to safeguarding and protecting. Within Bleach, Kubo has taken cultural and religious inspiration for each of the respective races that feature within the story, like the Shinigami representing the Japanese language, and the culture and concepts surrounding the Shinigami have taken heavy inspiration from Buddhism, like how the Soul Society and the other realms follow the Buddhist cycle of reincarnation. Additionally, several abilities and Bankai transformations incorporate Buddhist elements and imagery. In terms of the hollows, they represent the Spanish language and culture. This is seen within the names of the Arancars, their abilities, and the clothing that they wear. The Quincy represent the German language, and they take heavy inspiration from Judeo-Christian concepts. Considering all of the angelic imagery and crosses that are typically typically associated with the Quincy, even extending to the name of their leader Yuhabak, which is likened to Yahweh, the Hebrew name for God. The Fullbringers represent the English language, with some of the names associated to them being in reference to rock music, but contrastingly, the very concept of their powers takes heavy inspiration from Shinto Buddhism, with how the Fullbringers have the ability to manipulate the souls that reside within objects. Speaking of the races, by the end of the series, Ichigo was revealed to be a hybrid being, as he exhibits the powers of a Shinigami, Hollow, Quincy, and lastly a Fullbringer, and all of this is while being a human who resides within the world of the living. This has led to fans joking about hypothetical scenarios, like if Ichigo had ended up fighting Goku, by the end of their battle it would be revealed that he is a part Saiyan, or if he ended up fighting Naruto it would be revealed that he is part Shinobi. Another popular iconic meme which helped to shape the early days of internet meme culture was Aizen's iconic line, "How long have you been under the impression that I wasn't using Kyoka Suigetsu?" Aizen's tricks and witty remarks had solidified him as one of the most iconic villains in all of anime and manga, and this quote served as a massive catalyst around the Aizen had planned everything meme. Kubo isn't afraid to liken his characters to animals, and one of the most prominent examples of this is Genichimaru, who compares himself to a snake. This has even impacted how fans perceive his character. Gin appears on the cover of volume 47 of the manga, which means that Kubo had written a poem about his character, which also features within the pages of this volume. The poem for volume 47 is told through Gin's point of view, as Gin judges himself and all of the wrongs that he has committed for the sake of Rangiku. The poem has Gin asking if he were to transform into a snake and he uses his mouth to devour humans, would he still be able to say that he loves Rangiku with the same mouth that he uses to hurt others? In chapter 414, Gin describes himself as a snake, and he has also been referred to by fans as a snake in the grass. This reflects how he patiently waited decades in order to betray Aizen by exploiting the only known weakness of his Zanpakuto. Fans of the Bleach manga will know that the 2004 Bleach anime isn't a perfect adaptation of the source material. The substitute Shinigami arc was rushed within the anime, and several details about characters were changed, which notably impacted how fans perceived Rukia's relationship with Ichigo, as well as the anime's portrayal of Orihime's character, which made her less likable and more like a damsel in distress. The 2004 anime was notably censored, with violence and partial nudity not being adapted. In a lot of instances, injuries were made to be not as severe within the anime, like Uryu's arm not being severed following Ukiyora's attack, or how in the anime Chad's arm was showed to be slightly scratched up after he was defeated by Yami, when in the manga his arm looks like it has been chewed up in a blender. The 2004 anime was able to circumvent nudity by making alterations to the characters' outfits. The most notable example of this was the censorship of Haribel's outfit. Thankfully, when the Bleach anime returned for the 1000-year Blood War arc, the violence and nudity was left intact, and in some cases was even more pronounced than in the source material. This is thanks to the new anime adaptation having Tite Kubo as a supervisor, ensuring all of the dialogue is accurate to his vision, and any changes that are made to the anime are done with his prior consultation. Like how the 1000-year Blood War anime is removing comedic moments in order to ensure the tonal consistency of the work. Like a lot of shonen anime, the Bleach opening spoiled some major story moments for anime-only fans. The openings had subtle or even explicit hints for the future of the story. For example, the first opening of the 1000-year Blood War arc anime heavily hinted at Old Man Zangetsu being tied to Yuhabak. This kind of spoils how he is a physical manifestation of Ichigo's Quincy powers. In some cases, the openings misrepresent events or show us completely made up scenarios, like in opening 2 where Uryu is seen to battle Hitsugaya, or Orihime is defending Hanataro and Ganju from Isane and Hisagi. Bleach opening 9 had Ichigo and his friends along with the captains and lieutenants fighting in fake Karakura town. Now this is far from an accurate representation of the story. When openings are not blatantly spoiling fans, they are stylishly making up cool scenarios which do not line up with the unfolding story. In the end, fans are left feeling both intrigued and slightly lied to. Momo Hinamori is the victim of several unprovoked violent attacks, including being stabbed by Aizen, attacked by the combined might of the Gotei 13 and the Vizards, with Hitsugaya delivering a final blow with his Bankai as a nice cherry on top. The Shinigami were of course hypnotized to believe that she was Aizen, reason, before all of you start to think that they had decided to randomly beat her up for no reason, which to be honest is what Ichigo must have been thinking when he looked up to see what they were doing. While Momo holds the respectable rank of Lieutenant of the 5th Division, this still doesn't explain how she survives all of the time. There is a running gag amongst Bleach fans that she is one of the most durable characters in the series. There must be some truth behind this because she has survived fatal blows from several captain class individuals. Over the duration of 15 years of Bleach's serialization from 2001 to 2016, Tite Kubo's art style has evolved considerably in that time. From the early days of Bleach, there was a change in the character designs as Kubo shifted from a more angular, cartoonish art style to a realistic and expressive art style. This evolution in his art had improved his ability to convey nuanced facial expressions, and it had emphasized the overall cool and stylish look of his art. Kubo's art style has evolved to look more mature and detailed, which seamlessly fits with the evolving darker tone of the narrative. The wider anime and manga community are aware of Kubo's incredible fashion taste, and how he drapes his characters in some of the most stylish modern clothing via his amazing colored manga spreads. Kubo also excels in how he uses the medium of manga to convey mood and power via the contrasting way that he utilizes the colors black and white in his work. I mean, look no further than Ichigo vs Hollow Ichigo and how the limited color palette perfectly captures their symbolic encounter, or the way that Kubo applies shading to Unohana's face which reveals her true nature. Kubo's decision to use limited backgrounds is often misunderstood by critics of Bleach, but in interviews he has revealed that he intentionally omits backgrounds so that emphasis can be placed upon characters and their emotional states, which are much easier to decipher without all of the background noise going on. Recently, Kubo has been releasing amazing digital pieces of art over on his Twitter account following the release of each subsequent new episode of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. This highlights Kubo's constant desire for improvement and embracing new mediums of art, combined with his impressive ability to visually tell a story. The feud between the Quincy and the Shinigami is a long-standing conflict spanning over 1,000 years, with multiple moments in history where the Quincy has suffered massive losses at the hands of the Shinigami. There is some confusion amongst fans about the Quincy history and plotting out a timeline of what had happened to them. The first major conflict with the Quincy was 1,000 years ago when Yhwach led his Empire of Light to battle against the original Gotei 13. After Yhwach was defeated, he along with his surviving army retreated to the shadows. In that time, relations between the Shinigami and the Quincy further deteriorated. The cause of the issue between them stems from the way that Quincy exterminate hollows. They eliminate the hollow along with its accompanying soul, which can then no longer return to the Soul Society. If left unchecked, this would disrupt the fragile balance of souls between the realms. This in turn threatens the existence of reality. Over 200 years before the present timeline of Bleach, most of the Quincy were exterminated by the Shinigami in an attempt to preserve the balance of reality. Some Quincy had survived in the human world, like the Ishida household, but they were closely monitored by the Shinigami. Over the last 100 years, Quincy like Soken Ishida were captured and extensively experimented upon by the Shinigami Research and Development Institute. And in more recent times, we had seen the return of Yhwach, who had launched his long-awaited counterattack against the Soul Society with his new and improved army now called the Invisible Empire. This name stems from how they had retreated and lived for 1,000 years secretly inside a pocket dimension that was created within the shadows of the Serite. This also explains how they didn't need to infiltrate the Serite barrier, since they have always been within it, practically living side by side with the Shinigami unbeknownst to them. During the 1000 Year Blood War arc, we learned that Yhwach is the father of all Quincy. Incidentally, every Quincy has inherited their powers from him. Ichigo is no exception to this, but his case is unique because his inherited Quincy powers take up a physical form via Oldman Zangetsu, who visually represents Yhwach from 1000 years ago. Now this doesn't mean that every Quincy has their own physical manifestation of Yhwach that resides within their soul. This is because Ichigo is part Shinigami, and the Shinigami powers are tied to inner exploration and communicating with the inner self. It means that his Quincy powers are able to take up a physical form because Oldman Zangetsu is a manifestation of his hybrid soul. All of the other Quincy rely on gathering reishi from their surroundings as the basis of their power. power, so there is no real need to communicate with the source of your power in an inner world like how the Shinigami do. Also, Quincy are known to be the opposite of Shinigami, so it makes sense that this inversion also extends to the nature of their powers too. There is a bit of confusion about Chad's name. Chad is actually not his real name. Just to clarify, his formal name is Yasutora Sado, but in Japanese, when Ichigo had mistakenly read his name Sado as Chado, it ended up sticking as his nickname. With Bleach being such a long series, it's easy to forget some important details like how hollows are formed as a result of a human soul being corrupted. Hollows end up forming when a soul loses their heart, which symbolically represents the attachment of a soul to the human world. We see hollows formed as a result of a soul protecting a certain location, or having some unresolved goal that prevents them from moving on. The process of becoming a hollow can take months to even years. The progress of the transformation is represented by the length of the chain of fate, which is tied to the center of their chest. When a chain of fate connecting a soul to their physical body is severed, it begins to slowly corrode with time. If the soul is under emotional distress, the degradation of the chain of fate can be accelerated. When the chain breaks down completely, the soul then becomes a hollow, with a hole opening on their chest where their chain of fate was attached to. This visually represents a soul that has lost their heart and has become corrupted. In 2006, a legendary Bleach meme called Leak Spin was created when a Russian LiveJournal user had uploaded a clip of Orihime spinning a leak set to the catchy Finnish song called Livan Polka. This animation loop had quickly become an internet sensation in 2006, spreading rapidly on social media platforms and inspiring several parodies and remixes. The leak spin meme even reached Japan, where it ended up influencing the cover of Livan Polka by the popular Vocaloid singer Hatsune Miku. This cemented the impact of this meme on digital culture, as it had even helped to contribute to the insane rise of Hatsune Miku as a global otaku icon. The simple nature of the animation loop combined with the Finnish folk song, it ended up becoming an iconic example of the early days of user-generated content on video sharing platforms like YouTube, which actually had only been around for a year when the leak spin meme was originally created. Another very popular meme stemming from Orihime's character is when she is seen to be eating an entire loaf of bread for lunch from the early episodes of the Bleach anime. Now, this meme ended up going viral in 2022 via some posts made on Twitter, with people just amazed at how she is casually eating this oversized piece of bread. This had led to fans affectionately calling Orihime Bread Girl. The phrase "the Big Three" is thrown around a lot in the anime and manga community. The Big Three was a term coined to represent a unique era in anime and manga history, when the three series Naruto, Bleach and One Piece had dominated sales and global popularity in the mid to late 2000s. A lot of people misunderstood the term, with newer fans not familiar with the history mistakenly including Dragon Ball as a Big Three series, when in actuality Dragon Ball predates the era of the Big Three. Several attempts have been made to besmirch the good name of Bleach by people who claim that it is not a Big Three series. This term actually reflects how Naruto, Bleach and One Piece were all being serialized at the same time within Weekly Shonen Jump, with each of the series featuring prominently on the covers of the magazine. These three series were instrumental in expanding the reach of anime and manga beyond Japan. This was helped by the influence of the internet, with scanlation groups and fan subgroups helping to circulate new episodes and chapters to a growing global community who were for once up to date with the material that fans in Japan were enjoying reading and watching that week. Some fans have tried to discuss the possibility of a new Big Three, or even replace one of the original Big Three with Attack on Titan or Demon Slayer. However, they overlook the historical context of the Big Three. These three series were doing more than just selling well. They were literally a cultural phenomenon that had coincided with the widespread adoption of the internet, which really helped to build a global community of fans for each of the Big Three series. Bleach, Naruto and One Piece played a massive role in helping anime become mainstream in the West. So yes, Bleach is a Big Three series, and no, there will not be a new Big Three because the circumstances and times are different now. Ichigo's father, Isshin Kurosaki, was formerly known as Isshin Shiba, and most fans will know that over 20 years before the present timeline, he was the former captain of the 10th Division, with Rangiku as his lieutenant and Hitsugaya as his third-seated officer. Details about Isshin leaving the Soul Society are revealed during the short flashback flashback arc, Everything But the Rain, which is told during the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Unohana Retsu, the highly skilled healer and captain of the 4th Division, was once referred to as Unohana Yachuru, the most diabolical criminal in the Soul Society. During the final arc of the manga, we learn that she was the first one to have held the title of Kinpachi. Throughout Bleach, there are a handful of moments where we see Shinigami be careful not to annoy Unohana, like they can feel her killer intent. Kubo has also made a point to emphasize that everyone is afraid of Unohana since her introduction in the Soul Society arc. In chapter 180, we see Shinigami from the 11th Division nervous and sweating after they see her. Additionally, in the character data books released long before the 1000-Year Blood War arc, Kubo had assigned her attack power to be 100, foreshadowing that there is a lot more to the peaceful captain of the 4th Division than meets the eye. Bleach fans over the years have grown to dislike the online series Death Battle, which pits two fictional characters from different series against each other in a simulated fight to the death. The issues arise from two controversial videos. The first, where they had claimed that Naruto would be able to beat Ichigo, and the second, where they had claimed that Madara can beat Aizen. The issue is that Death Battle had lowballed the feats of Bleach characters. They were very one-sided, and frankly they didn't do enough research into Bleach, and they had represented it very poorly in their videos. It genuinely felt like they were using Bleach characters as punching bags just to satisfy the fans of other series. Within the Bleach official bootleg color book, we learn that Rangiku is drinking buddies with Shunsui and Hisagi. In chapter 180, she gets drunk with Kira when he comes to apologize to her after blindly trusting Gin, who had just betrayed them. Rangiku is revealed to be a character who is very eager to drink alcohol, and this, coupled with her troubled past and the loss of her love interest Gin Ichimaru, has led fans to believe that she isn't just a social drinker, but she may well be an alcoholic. Zanpakuto spirits are not often shown within the manga, but they do play a crucial role in the manifestation and evolution of a Shinigami's power. A Zanpakuto spirit is born from the soul of a Shinigami, and it typically shares their master's resolve. These spirits each have their own distinctive personalities and appearances which mirror the traits of the Shinigami, and they reside within their own unique worlds. Despite being heavily influenced by the Shinigami who wields them, the Zanpakuto spirits each have their own desires and opinions. When called upon, a Zanpakuto spirit can amplify the strength of the wielder. This is only possible if the Shinigami is able to communicate with their Zanpakuto, so this becomes an important element for the growth of a Shinigami's power. A Shinigami can communicate with their Zanpakuto via a meditation method called Jinzen, which enables the Shinigami to enter into the inner world of the Zanpakuto. The connection with one Zanpakuto spirit can be affected by several factors, like Kinpachi's self-imposed mental limitations, which restricted his powers and prevented him from communicating with his Zanpakuto, to the extent that he didn't even have a Shikai despite being a captain-class Shinigami. The Bleach soundtrack, composed by Shiro Sagisu, features several iconic tunes, but the most recognizable has to be Ichigo's theme song number 1. This song accompanies any moment when Ichigo is about to decisively turn the tide of battle in his favor. One of the most memorable occasions when number 1 begins to play is when Ichigo charges towards Aizen at the very end of the Soul Society arc. Unexpectedly, Aizen was able to not only effortlessly block Ichigo's attack with 2 fingers, but he had also stopped his theme song dead in its tracks. Ever since this had happened, number 1 has not been played again in its original form. Anytime that the song features after this moment, it is either a remix or a recreation of the original song. Ironically, almost 300 episodes after Aizen had disrespected Ichigo and robbed him of his original theme song, Ichigo repays the favor in one of Bleach's most satisfying moments when he catches Aizen's attack while a remix of number 1 plays. To commemorate the 20th anniversary of Bleach, on the 9th of August 2021, a special one-shot chapter was released called No Breeds from Hell. This special chapter takes place 12 years after the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc and 2 years after the epilogue of the Bleach manga. This one-shot chapter involves Ichigo helping the Shinigami with a special ritual, as we see the return of Xyle Aporo and we learn about how captains are sent to hell after they die. This 75-page special chapter introduces new characters and it sets up several new plot points. This ultimately teases fans with the possibility of a manga continuation via a story arc centered around the realm of hell. Kubo, in response to the demand for more manga content, has said that he is not good at drawing drawing when he is told to draw, so he will think about drawing more when people stop asking him about it. In November 2016, Kubo had returned to Twitter after abruptly leaving in September 2015. The reason for this I will discuss as we get deeper down the iceberg, so definitely stay tuned for it. To make his return, he had created a new official Twitter account on Halloween 2016, and he had posted several images of him cosplaying as Mayuri, wearing his outfit from the Arrancar arc. In several interviews with Kubo, he has made it clear that Mayuri is his favorite character in the series, so it makes sense that he would go through the effort of cosplaying as him. In his Twitter posts, he did complain about how the gold paint that he had applied to his teeth was difficult to remove, but it all appears to have been worth it in the end because Kubo looks amazing dressed as Mayuri. A fact that I am sure that many of us would like to forget is the poorly executed plot twist of Yami being revealed as the most powerful Espada, ranking at number 0. Can't For Your Own World expands upon the lore of the Fullbringers, as we learn a pivotal detail about the source of their powers. It is revealed that each of the Fullbringers possess a fragment of the Soul King within them. These fragments offer the Fullbringers unique abilities, but are limited in comparison to individuals like Gerard or Pernaida, who possess complete organs or limbs of the Soul King. The Fullbringers play an important role during Can't For Your Own World, as we also learn some key details about Ginjo's backstory and his troubled history with Ukitake. One of the most exciting aspects of Bleach is seeing a Shinigami finally unveil their Bankai. While we have seen the Bankai transformations of several characters, there are some that were not revealed to us within the manga, while some new Bankai reveals have made appearances within other pieces of media, like the Bankai of Shinji Hirako and Shuhei Hisagi, both being revealed within the Can't For Your Own World light novels. Additionally, the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime has also shown us the Bankai of Shinji, and we had an all-new exclusive Bankai reveal when Senjumaru activates her Bankai in episode 26 via an incredible anime exclusive scene. Despite these new additions, we still do not know the Bankai of at least 9 Captain class Shinigami, of which include Love, Ishin, Yoriichi, Kiryu, Kurinji, Nimaya, Ukitake, Aizen, and lastly, the true Bankai of our protagonist Ichigo. Only time will tell if we're going to get more Bankai reveals within the expanded anime or via a new manga Hell arc. In July 2018, Kubo released a one-shot titled Burn the Witch. This was followed by 4 additional chapters which served as season 1 of the manga. The end of season 1 had concluded with a teaser for the second season. Kubo confirmed that Burn the Witch coexists with Bleach in the same expansive universe. The spin-off manga features 2 female protagonists called Noelle and Nini, who are both witches working for the western branch of the Soul Society, which is called Reverse London. Burn the Witch is set 12 years after the 1000-Year Blood War arc, which means that it takes place around the same time as the Bleach one-shot No Breathes from Hell. Fans have been looking forward to a crossover between the two works, so it will be interesting to see if Burn the Witch Season 2 links back to Bleach in a significant way, and if it will serve as a prelude or a setup to the Bleach Hell arc, considering that the two stories are occurring at very similar points in time. Bleach Can't For Your Own World is a collection of light novels that is chronologically set 6 months after the 1000-Year Blood War arc. They were written by Ryogo Narita with the help of Tite Kubo, who Narita had spoken to extensively before he had started writing Can't For Your Own World. These novels delve into the lore of the Bleach universe, uncovering several key details that were left unanswered within the manga. Can't For Your Own World revolves around Shuhei Hisagi as the protagonist, as he uncovers the sinister plan of Tokinada Tsuneyashiro, who desires to create a new Soul King. Fans have debated about the canonicity of Can't For Your Own World, but considering elements that have been featured within it and now appearing in the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, it is safe to assume that it is canon to the Bleach manga. Within the Bleach Jet art book and on Kubo's official fan club called Club Outside, Kubo reveals that he is in fact a boob man, stating that he has gotten better at drawing large breasts after he had grown to like them more. Bleach was pioneering for its representation and portrayal of LGBT+ and minority characters. We have individuals like Chizuru, who despite being predatory represents lesbian attraction, along with Soifon, whose admiration for Yoriichi has sparked debates amongst fans about her sexuality. Also, trans representation exists within the series via characters like Charlotte and Giselle. Bleach also has a diverse range of characters from different racial backgrounds, like Chad, who is Hispanic, or black characters like Nimaya, Tozen, and Yoriichi, who are respectfully depicted within the work. They are not portrayed in an offensive, stereotypical manner like in other series which feature characters of color. This diverse level of representation is further extended to Espada like Zomari and Sternritter like Lil Barrow, proving that Bleach's cast is diverse and representative of several cultures, races, and sexualities. Popular Minecraft YouTuber Filza is known for his Bleach-inspired Minecraft skin, which pretty much rips off Kisuke Urahara. I only know about Filza because every time I upload an Urahara video, I have like 50 people spamming his name in the comments. While it is cool that he loves Bleach, there are issues with his Urahara clone branding and merchandise that he sells, which I don't really agree with personally. His Minecraft skin design lacks originality, and it's sketchy that he is profiting off of Kubo's character like this without giving any credit to him. Filza's skin resembles Urahara to such an extent that his fans who have never seen Bleach before regularly confuse Urahara for Filza, believing that Urahara is Filza's creation. We have now reached the surface layer, and this is just the tip of the Bleach Berg. Here we will be getting into the more lesser known details about Bleach, so we're going to be delving into knowledge that casual fans most likely won't be familiar with, but devoted fans will most likely know about. This is the beginning of the weird and obscure details about Bleach, so brace yourselves as we prepare to sink into the daunting depths of the iceberg. When coming up with the concept for Bleach, Kubo's original concept was initially rejected by the editorial department from Weekly Shonen Jump. However, his initial work was read by Akira Toriyama, the creator of the legendary Dragon Ball series. This information was revealed to us during a 2008 LA Times interview with Kubo. Toriyama ended up encouraging Kubo and inspiring him to rework his initial concept for Bleach, which led him to resubmit the work, leading to its pilot chapter being successfully published within a special edition of Jump called Akumaru Jump. Bleach's pilot chapter went on to be very positively received, leading to it being serialized weekly. This point of Akira Toriyama helping Kubo is contentious amongst fans, with no sources being live that can back this up, but thanks to the Wayback Machine we can access the original LA Times article which had circulated this information back in 2008, thus providing a credible source of information that Akira Toriyama played a massive role in influencing Kubo during the early stages of his career. So thanks to Akira Toriyama's encouragement, Bleach went on to achieve global success and has captivated countless fans with its unique supernatural story combined with incredibly well written characters that are very hard to forget. Later in the Iceberg, I'll speak more about the original concept for Bleach and what the series was called before the pilot chapter was published. Before creating the iconic series Bleach, Tite Kubo faced a challenging journey with his first serialized work, Zombie Powder. At the age of 18, after a year-long hiatus from drawing, Kubo was encouraged by his editor to draft a chapter's worth of storyboards, which were for his new series Zombie Powder. This task was meant to reignite his passion for manga and to overcome his self-doubt. Remarkably, Kubo's submission, consisting of only a single chapter's worth of storyboard instead of the usual 3, was instantly approved for serialization within the prestigious Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. This unusual decision was part of the editorial department's strategy to boost Kubo's confidence and to keep a closer eye on his work, because before this Kubo was submitting his work very close to deadlines. Despite a troubled relationship with his editors, their support was pivotal in his development as a manga artist. However, Kubo's struggles with self-criticism had persisted, as he was often dissatisfied with his work, as he was finding it very difficult to read his published chapters. Zombie Powder was short-lived as it had only spanned the length of 4 manga volumes, but it was a crucial learning experience for Kubo. He had realized the importance of staying true to his style and following his heart, and these are lessons that he applied in the creation of Bleach. Despite initial rejections and pressure from the Jump editorial department, Kubo's talent for storytelling and his artistry had shone through, leading to the successful launch of Bleach. Turn Back the Pendulum is a short flashback arc told within volume 36 of the manga and adapted into episodes 206 to 211 of the anime. It takes us over over 100 years into the past as it details the origins of the Vizards, the beginnings of Aizen's schemes, and how Urahara and Yoriichi were exiled from the Soul Society. This is a very iconic short story arc spanning 9 chapters, which almost every fan of the series is very familiar with. The chapters for Turn Back the Pendulum are titled from -108 to -97. Now there are other minus chapters which Kubo has released which are lesser known, and I'll be talking about them later in the video. Everything But the Rain stands out as one of the most pivotal mini arcs in all of Bleach, as it delves into the origins of Ichigo by revealing to us the past of his parents Masaki and Isshin. Fans love this flashback for its emotional depth. It showcases how fate impacted the lives of both Isshin and Masaki, with Isshin having to make an important decision in order to save the life of the Quincy girl who had helped him. But by saving her, Isshin had sacrificed everything, like his life as a captain of the Gotei 13. This links back perfectly to the present day where Ichigo grapples with these new revelations as he comes to terms with who was responsible for the death of his mother. Everything But the Rain serves as the culmination of Ichigo's character arc, as he accepts the truth of the past in order to move forward with his life and overcome his flaws. This short flashback arc was adapted into episodes 11 and 12 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. It's no secret that it is highly regarded amongst fans as a masterpiece. It's a true testament to the incredible storytelling of Kubo, which speaks to audiences on a deep emotional level. Within Bleach there exists a mighty chair crafted from the finest mahogany sourced within all of the Soul Society. This powerful seat is revealed during the 1000 Year Blood War arc. Aizen had the honor of being restrained on this chair, which fans have respectfully dubbed as Chair-sama. This is another staple of the Bleach meme culture, as Chair-sama has earned the respect of fans after they had witnessed how indestructible it was and how it was able to contain the immense spiritual pressure of Sosuke Aizen. In chapter 622, Aizen himself is astonished by the resilience of Chair-sama, as it remains unscathed after he uses a powerful Kido spell that devastates his opponents. Chair-sama is no ordinary seat. It is likened to a divine entity. It's a godly throne with a golden hue and towering pillars which extend from its backrest, which are symbolic of its lofty status. Aizen has several prominent quotes within the series. One of his most iconic lines from the 1000 Year Blood War arc, which fans seem to have really latched onto, is when he says to Yhwach, "Welcome to my Soul Society." The quote was voice acted in the mobile game Bleach Brave Souls, and fans have taken this voice line and made edits with it on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, as they show off how powerful Aizen becomes towards the end of the Bleach manga. Bleach Abridged is a popular YouTube parody series created by Project Mouthwash. It's a comedic reimagining of the story of Bleach. The Abridged series is now in its 3rd season with an all-new visual opening accompanied by the song Hiyaki Yako by Hello Sleepwalkers, which is also the opening from the mobile game Bleach Brave Souls. Despite some cast changes and a slow release schedule, the Abridged series has a loyal following, which can be credited to the charm of the writing. Project Mouthwash makes some very clever changes to the Bleach canon, like Ichigo being a non-union Shinigami who has a fondness of haikus, and Orihime being a meta-fictionally aware character. There are some genuinely hilarious alterations made to some of the plotlines and characters, like Aizen getting up to mischief purely out of boredom, or Tozen's tendency to mumble when he speaks. Bleach Abridged also pays homage to the original work by including original soundtracks from the anime like Number 1.
What will be his punishment, Lord Aizen?
1,000 years dungeon. I meant to say 1,000 years no arm.
What?
Overall, this Abridged series is an awesome fan-created work which all of you should definitely go and check out. Bleach Brave Souls is a free-to-play beat-em-up mobile game developed by K-Lab Games. It was launched on Android and iOS in 2015 and later released on Steam and PS4. By 2022, Brave Souls has amassed over 70 million downloads worldwide, making it one of the most successfully licensed Bleach games. It follows the Bleach story from the manga, even incorporating characters and storylines from the Thousand Year Blood War arc before even an anime adaptation of the final arc was announced. So a lot of the voices of the Sternritter or lines of dialogue from the final arc were first heard within Brave Souls long before the anime even released. Even light novels like Card for Your Own World and Spirits Are Forever With You have been incorporated into the game. This is why fans have praised Brave Souls for its extensive content and engaging gameplay, which keeps fans coming back for more. Even Burn the Witch content has been included into the game, with Kubo frequently drawing new designs on alternative character versions which appear within the game during special events. Brave Souls stands out amongst its competition, as several other Bleach mobile games have attempted to replicate the success of Brave Souls, but none have really achieved the same level of popularity and acclaim. Bleach Paradise Lost was released on iOS and Android on the 29th of September 2017 exclusively in Japan. It was a turn-based game that quickly got boring and repetitive, with the game being shut down on the 4th of December 2018. The next mobile game, Bleach Immortal Soul, was released worldwide on iOS and Android in March 2020. This is a gacha turn-based online RPG game, but with the social media accounts from the game receiving minimal interactions, it seems like this game is slowly dying a quiet death. The latest mobile game is Bleach Soul Rising, which released in September 2020. This is yet another action RPG which retells the story of Bleach. Now these are just the official licensed Bleach mobile games. Be sure to stay tuned, because later in the video, as we delve deeper into the iceberg, I'll be showing you the cursed world of unlicensed Bleach mobile games. Trust me, nothing will be able to prepare you for some of the stuff you're going to see. Okay, moving on. Before gaming on mobile phones was big, Bleach had several titles released for home consoles. Most of these games are Japan exclusive unless stated otherwise. We're starting with the Bleach games released on the PlayStation 2, as we have Bleach Erebarashi Tamashi, which released on the 4th of August 2005. It was the very first PS2 game released based on the series. The next PS2 game, Bleach Hanatereshi Yabo, released on the 16th of February 2006. It featured an all-new story with original characters, and it was the first ever action-adventure Bleach RPG game. Next we have Bleach Blade Battlers, a fighting game series with 2 installments, the first releasing in October 2006 and the second releasing in September 2007. Following this we have the 3 different Bleach fighting games that were released on Nintendo home consoles. All of these games were published by Sega, and the first was released on GameCube, titled Bleach Shinigami Meeting in the Twilight, which released on the 8th of December 2004. This was a weapon-based fighter with several playable characters. Bleach Shattered Blade was released on the Wii in December 2006 in Japan, and it was released globally in 2007 for North America and 2008 for Australia and Europe. Bleach Shattered Blade featured an all-new Arrancar designed just for this game called Arturo Plateado. This is somebody who I'll be speaking about more later in the video. Bleach vs Crusade is the final Nintendo home console release, as it was a Japanese exclusive title for the Nintendo Wii, releasing on the 18th of December 2008. The last Bleach home console game was Bleach Soul Resurrection on the PS3. This came out in June 2011 in Japan and in August and September of that same year for the rest of the world. Soul Resurrection covers events from the manga from the point where Ichigo and company arrive within Hueco Mundo all the way up until Ichigo defeats Aizen at the very end of the Arrancar arc. Bleach also has a massive presence on handheld consoles, which were super popular in the 90s all the way up until the late 2000s. Again, most of these games were released exclusively in Japan unless stated otherwise. Beginning with the Game Boy Advance, which had Bleach Advance Soul Society Dyed in Red. This was a fighting game that released on the 21st of July 2005. It featured several playable characters with a single player story mode as well as a survival mode. Next we have the 4 Nintendo DS Bleach games. Thankfully 3 of the games were localized into English. The first is titled Bleach The Blade of Fate, a 2D fighting game which released in Japan in January 2006 and over a year and a half later released in North America in October 2007. This game allowed players to connect worldwide and fight against others via the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. The next game, Bleach Dark Souls, is another 2D fighter which was released in February 2007 in Japan and in October 2008 in North America. This is a follow-up to the prior DS game, and in Japan it was called Bleach DS 2nd. Things get interesting with Bleach the Third Phantom, which was released in June 2008 for Japan and in September 2009 for North America. This is a strategy RPG game which features a totally new storyline and several new characters. I will be speaking extensively about this game later in the Iceberg. The last Bleach DS game is titled Bleach DS 4th Flamebringer. It was released in August 2009 for Japan and unfortunately it remains a Japanese exclusive title. Flamebringer is a side-scrolling platform game and it features a new game exclusive story where Rukia finds a glowing zanpakuto called Higanbana. The blade ends up possessing her and corrupts her Shikai Sodeno Shirayuki. The story involves Ichigo and the others trying to stop the rogue zanpakuto. Now, the last handheld console which received a ton of Bleach games was the PlayStation Portable. Now, all of the games for this platform are exclusive to Japan, but this hasn't stopped fans from creating their own localized versions. The PSP had two series of games. The first was the Bleach Heat the Soul series of fighting games, which had 7 installments in total. The first game released in March 2005 with a total of 6 playable characters. Each game featured various game modes like story mode or mission mode. These modes retell the story of the manga. Now, as the series progressed, more characters were included, with Heat the Soul 3 introducing partner characters, allowing the games to reflect the evolving plot of the manga via the growing roster of new characters. The Heat the Soul series featured the Japanese voice cast along with theme songs from the anime. The series concluded with the release of Heat the Soul 7 in September 2010, and the final game featured 84 playable characters, cementing the legacy of this series as a pivotal chapter in the history of Bleach games. Now, the last series of handheld Bleach games were titled Soul Carnival. This was also released on the PSP, and Soul Carnival consisted of 2 action RPGs which were made available only in Japan. Bleach Soul Carnival released in October 2008, and its sequel released in December 2009. The aim of these games was to play through the entirety of the Bleach story, navigating to either the end of a stage or winning a boss battle. A lot of these games feature video game exclusive storylines and characters, which I will speak about in detail within one of the deeper layers of this iceberg. Also, if you want to know more about these games, then check out my videos on my channel where I have played and reviewed almost every single one of these games. Bleach has also appeared within several crossover fighting games which feature a massive roster of weekly Shonen Jump characters. These games were usually made to commemorate the anniversary of Weekly Shonen Jump. The first was Jump Superstars, released in August 2005 on the Nintendo DS. This game had 6 Bleach characters, 1 was completely playable, and 5 were support or assist characters. Its sequel, Jump Ultimate Stars, released in November 2006, and it had a much larger representation for Bleach, featuring a total of 17 characters, 4 were playable in battle, and 13 were available for support and assists. Both of these games are absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend them to anybody who hasn't played them before. The next crossover game, J-Star's Victory Versus, released in March 2014, and it included Ichigo and Aizen as playable characters and Rukia as a support character. The most latest crossover game, which I'm confident that you're familiar with, is called Jump Force, and it released worldwide in February 2019, and it launched with the 4 playable Bleach characters, which included Ichigo, Rukia, Renji, and Aizen. 3 additional Bleach characters were made available via DLC, and these included Hitsugaya, Grimmjow, and Yoruichi. Jump Force notably featured the character designs from the 1000-Year Blood War arc, which was refreshing to see in a console game, since we were so used to seeing the Bleach characters with their early designs all of the time. Throughout its remarkable 15-year run from 2001 to 2016, Bleach had graced the cover of Weekly Shonen Jump magazine on 49 occasions. Each exclusive cover feature coincided with a major event that was unfolding within the story. Bleach set a record for being the first series in the history of Shonen Jump to be both featured on the cover and release color pages at the same time for 2 consecutive weeks in a row. This was when chapters 150 and 151 had released. This editorial decision was done in order to coincide with Ichigo's climactic return to the battlefield when he finally arrives to rescue Rukia. Kubo achieving this was impressive considering the rigorous deadlines faced by mangaka. So the weeks when magazine covers and color pages are produced by mangaka are some of the most demanding within their work schedule, and Kubo back-to-back did 2 of these weeks in a row. In chapter 63 of the manga, Kubo foreshadows the powers and motives of Ichibei, the leader of the Zero Division. This is done hundreds of chapters before we learn about who Ichibei is or that he has control over all names within the Bleach universe. He does so by subtly censoring the true identity of Old Man Zangetsu. Kubo depicts this by inking out what Old Man Zangetsu says after Ichigo asks who he is within the manga. The anime adapts this by distorting Zangetsu's words, so making what he says sound inaudible.
誰だあんた。
誰だ何を言ってる私だ。
This was done because Old Man Zangetsu is a representation of Ichigo's Quincy powers, and he takes the form of Yuha bark from 1000 years ago. This black inked out speech bubble from chapter 63 remained a mystery until Kubo answered a question about it on his official fan club Club Outside. In question 117 on his fan club, he was asked if the blacked out ink in chapter 63 was the doing of Ichibei. Kubo responds by saying that yes, it was. Initially, it appeared as though Ichigo's inability to hear Old Man Zangetsu was due to his inexperience as a Shinigami, but thankfully Kubo has confirmed that Ichibei played a part here, which adds a new layers of depth to the narrative. Hollow Ichigo's character has similar instances of foreshadowing where he hints at Ichigo that he is in fact his true Zanpakuto spirit. He does this explicitly when he repeatedly yells at Ichigo, "I am Zangetsu" in chapter 218 and 220. A subtle hint within the manga which didn't really translate over to the anime is when Hollow Ichigo's face is reflected in his Zanpakuto at the very end of chapter 110. Despite Hollow Ichigo having a visible smile on his face, his reflection contrastingly appears to look sad within the manga. This reflection reveals the truth of Hollow Ichigo's feelings, something that we aren't really explicitly made aware of until much later on. The truth is that Ichigo's inner Hollow is in fact his Zanpakuto spirit Zangetsu, the manifestation of his Shinigami powers, and we learn this during the 1000-year Blood War arc. Hollow Ichigo is upset because he wasn't recognized by Ichigo. Instead, he was constantly rejected by him. Despite outwardly appearing to have a maniacal smile with his mouth open, the reflection in the blade reveals his mouth closed with a sad expression. This is a truth which was in plain sight for us to see ever since Hollow Ichigo's first appearance within the manga. Bleach is a very influential series, and it has inspired countless other stories, including several new generation shonen series which have also gained massive worldwide popularity. Let's go over a few Shonen Jump mangaka who have cited that Bleach has inspired them. The author of My Hero Academia, Kohei Horikoshi, did an interview with Kubo a couple of years ago where we learn just how influential Bleach was to Horikoshi when he was in middle school. Horikoshi states that he had never drawn anything resembling manga before, so he would doodle random things while daydreaming about different settings or characters. And notably, he used to copy art from Bleach of people holding Zanpakutos. He says that he came up with several designs of his own Zanpakuto which could also activate their very own unique Bankai forms. When Bleach had ended, several authors left comments within the 38th issue of Weekly Shonen Jump released on the 22nd of August 2016, with Yuki Tabata, the author of Black Clover, saying that Bleach had a lot of influence on him and how it must have been a lot of work for Kubo to serialize it for so long. The author of Jujutsu Kaisen, Gege Akutami, announced that his series was going to end around 2023, and he had also mentioned that his story was influenced by Bleach, giving examples of how Aoi Todo was inspired by the brutality and straightforwardness of Kenpachi Zaraki. Even within the English dub of Jujutsu Kaisen, Yuji Itadori, the protagonist, complains about not getting a Bankai amongst other well-known power-ups within the world of anime and manga. The author of the massively popular series Demon Slayer, Koyoharu Gotoge, was asked in 2016 what manga had inspired her to write Demon Slayer. She says that there are too many to count, but if she had to pick three, then they'd be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Naruto, and Bleach. She says that Bleach's Gotei 13 military division was brought up a lot during her meetings with her editor while they were discussing Demon Slayer. In early 2021, a official fan club for Tite Kubo was released called Club Outside. This is where fans pay either a monthly or a one-off yearly membership fee, and they gain exclusive access to the latest goings-on with Kubo. It was initially supposed to run for a year, but because it was so successful, it was expanded, and it's currently in its third year. Club Outside features all new artwork drawn by Kubo, including videos of him drawing the Bleach New Breeds from Hell one-shot. He also posts regular updates on his life, and not to mention a section where he answers 3 questions from his fans every week. This Q&A section has resulted in several unanswered questions about the series finally receiving some much needed closure. We have discussed some of these within this iceberg already. Additionally, fans receive exclusive gifts on their birthday and other key dates where they are thanked for their membership to the fan club. Club Outside is only available for fans from Japan, Korea and China, but there is a way for overseas fans to gain access to it and even set up a Japanese forwarding address in order to receive the exclusive gifts that Club Outside offers to its members. Grimjow Jagajak, the fan favorite 6th ranking Espada, has a habit of impaling people with his bare hand. We first see this when he stabs Rukia in the gut. Following this, we see this when he brutally runs his arm through Luffy's chest, and also during his battle against Ichigo while he is in his resurrection, he stabs Ichigo with his hand, and the final time that we see this is during the 1000-year Blood War arc when he brutally impales Askin, delivering the final blow to one of the most formidable Sternritter within Yhwach's army. While Grimjow appears to be aware of where he impales his opponents, contrastingly, Ukiura is unaware of his trend of leaving a signature wound through the chest of his opponents exactly in the same spot where his own hollow hole is located. We are first made aware of this when Grimjow recognizes the wound on Ichigo's body, stating that it is a signature mark Ukiura leaves on his victims. These guys must really enjoy making donuts for Lord Aizen. Muken is the lowest 8th level of the central underground prison. It is the most secure facility within the Serete. Muken is located under the 1st Division barracks, and it is reserved for the most dangerous of criminals like Sosuke Aizen, who was sentenced to 20,000 years for his treasonous crimes. Muken can be best described as a dark, unending void of space, similar to the hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball. It gives off an illusion of an infinite space that makes your head spin when you think about how vast it is. Muken was created for prisoners who cannot be executed due to their immense power or their status of immortality. Muken is very difficult to access and it is restricted to any non-criminals. But there have been some exceptions, like when Unohana was given permission to use Muken in order to train Kinpachi. Prisoners of Muken are treated to seals that bind the inmates. During the final arc, Shunsui had visited Muken in order to enlist the help of Aizen against Yhwach's army. It is here where we are shown the extent to which prisoners are restrained, as we see Aizen is sealed with several black strands which are tying him down to the ground. Muken also houses other criminals who have only featured within the Bleach light novels, which I will be speaking about later on. Within page 85 of the 3rd official Bleach character data book called Unmasked, we learn a very strange detail about the 8th Espada Xyle Aparo Granz. Did you know that his hollow hole is located on his wiener? The hole has a small diameter of around 5mm. Believe it or not, this weird placement carries some symbolic significance. The obvious one is a sexual one. Within the Spirits Are Forever With You light novel, we learn that before Xyle Aparo died and became a hollow, he was an alchemist when he was alive, and his older brother would regularly give him test subjects in order to perform inhuman experiments on. His actions when he was alive followed him into his life as an Arrancar, with his hedonistic acts taking on unique physical characteristics, thus explaining the deeper meaning behind the location of his hollow hole. We also see this with the other Espada, notably Ukiura's hollow hole, which is located on the center of his chest, and this is symbolic of his nihilistic nature and his lack of a heart, which makes it difficult for him to empathize with human emotions. Beyond Bankai is a concept first introduced within Bleach Brave Souls, and it is explored within the Spirits Are Forever With You light novel. This is a hypothetical transformation which signifies the next level of power that a Shinigami can achieve after having attained Bankai. This notion was not a part of the original manga, but it has been brought to life via several unique forms that feature within Brave Souls. The Beyond Bankai forms are unique and they feature new abilities, and all of these designs had been supervised by Kubo himself in order to ensure that they are consistent with his vision of the story and the characters. The Beyond Bankai forms are not actual evolutions, but rather manifestations of the Shinigami's power combined with the different internal elements of the characters and external influences. Brave Souls doesn't really explain these new powers, thus leading fans to question their canonicity. Bankai typically represent the peak of a Shinigami's power, and it represents a Shinigami forming a deep understanding with their Zanpakuto, as it allows them to externalize the power of their blade. During the Thousand Year Blood War arc, we received a groundbreaking revelation about Yachiru Kusajishi. Within the story, she is known as being the lieutenant of Kinpachi Zaraki, as she somewhat shares a father-daughter bond with him. It is revealed that Yachiru is in fact Kinpachi's Zanpakuto spirit called Nozarashi. This plot twist was met with mixed reactions due to the overall sentiment that the final arc was being rushed. Yachiru was named after Yachiru Unohana from Kinpachi's past, and this name had resulted in the formation of Yachiru's own powers through her Zanpakuto Sampo Kenju. Within Bleach, there is this underlying concept that names bestow identity and power to things. Yachiru is a separate physical existence from the Zanpakuto spirit Nozarashi. It is similar to the duality found in Stark and Lilynet, or Xyle Aparo and his older brother Ylfert, and it's how two entities can be tied to one existence, but can also at the same time uniquely manifest themselves. Kinpachi's ability to quickly activate his Bankai right after he learns about his Zanpakuto is a testament to his long-standing close bond with Yachiru, and upon closer inspection, this revelation is one of the most unique and well thought out twists within the entire story. Omake is a Japanese term used to describe extra or supplementary content. Bleach has several omake bonus sections within the anime. These are typically short comedic segments that are shown right after the next episode preview. They wrap up the episode in a comedic manner by giving us extra information about episodes or breaking down details about techniques, abilities, and characters. Some of the omake are short comedic moments adapted from the manga, which itself has several omake which I will speak about later, since the manga omake are not as well known to fans. Now, there are 7 omake segments that appear within the anime. The first omake is called Konsama's Ultimate Shinigami Illustrated Guide. It was the omake segment to start these short gag segments within the anime, and it had ran from episodes 14 to 51. Within each short segment, we have Kon speak about a different Shinigami up until the final installment, where he saves the best for last and he speaks about himself. This omake was timed with the lead up to the Soul Society arc, as it serves to help to introduce fans to the new cast of characters that are about to appear in the upcoming story arc. The next omake segment that I'll be speaking about is the Illustrated Guide to Shinigami. Now, this is the default segment that the anime uses for the majority of the episodes, and it has its own short mini arc that ties multiple omake segments together in order to tell a larger story. In comparison, the other omake are more episodic in nature. Now, the Illustrated Guide to Shinigami adapts volume sketches or comedic moments from Colorful Bleach, which is something that I'll be speaking about later on in the video. Now, this omake was announced to be starting at the end of episode 53, and it had officially began on the 54th episode. At the end of episode 365, Kon had announced the end of the Illustrated Guide to Shinigami. However, over 10 years later, the omake segment returned at the end of episode 26 of the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War arc anime. This version had adapted comedic moments from the Thousand Year Blood War arc which were not adapted into the anime episodes. There are a few anime omake that intermittently appear over the run of the anime. The Arrancar Encyclopedia is the first of these intermittent segments, as it reveals information about the Arrancars, like their techniques, abilities, and various details about Hueco Mundo and its inhabitants. The Arrancar Encyclopedia is hosted by Genichimaru, as he reveals the topic of discussion before he delves deep into it, sharing valuable insights with us until he is interrupted by another character as they end the segment with some sort of joke. Now, there are some instances when the segment is hosted by Touzen, Ichigo, and even Dondochaka. This omake first appears within episode 125, and it made its final appearance at the end of episode 307. The next omake, which appears at the end of some episodes, is the Quincy Encyclopedia, debuting in episode 158 and making its final appearance at the end of episode 364. The earlier Quincy Encyclopedia segments shared information with us about Quincy abilities, while later instances of the omake were more focused on short gags rather than information. The Substitute Shinigami Work Diary omake had ran from episodes 206 to 219. It begins with Rukia wanting to know Ichigo's opinion about her drawings, as he tells her that they are consistent in their quality, which makes Rukia really happy. She reveals that she is going to submit some of her drawings with her reports to the Soul Society so that they can better understand Ichigo's role as a substitute Shinigami. The subsequent installments of the omake continue to reveal the different duties of a substitute Shinigami in a comedic manner. The next omake, called Shinigami Zanpakuto Instructions, first appeared in episode 221 to 230. This was alongside the Zanpakuto Unknown Tales filler arc. It begins with Ichigo introducing Byakuya Zanpakuto, which is then spoken about during the segment. Each omake ends with a funny gag wrapping up the explanation. The Shinigami whose Zanpakuto was explained during that segment ends up hosting the following segment in the next episode, where they introduce the next Shinigami and speak about their Zanpakuto. This segment comes full circle with the Shinigami Zanpakuto Introductions omake ending in episode 230 with Mayuri introducing Ichigo Zanpakuto, who, if you remember, was the host of the first Zanpakuto Introductions omake. Next we have Karakura Town Secrets of the Seven Mysteries. These were a short series of gags that featured at the end of episodes 280 to 286. They involved Ichigo investigating the strange supernatural urban legends of Karakura Town, which he eventually comes to learn were as a result of the Shinigami goofing around, thus resulting in the birth of some of these weird urban mysteries. Now lastly we have the Execution Dictionary, which was the final intermittent anime omake segment from the original Bleach anime. It had started in episode 346 and it appeared for the final time at the end of episode 363. This short segment features during the anime adaptation of the Fullbring arc, and it tells short funny gags about the Fullbringers. The 17th of June 1995 is a pivotal date within the chronology of Bleach. It is the fateful day when Ichigo's mother was killed by the Grand Fisher. This is also the date when Yhwach had casted Ashwaunen, robbing all of the impure Quincy of their power. This information is based off of what is revealed within chapter 19, where we learn that Ichigo was 9 years old at the time of his mother's death, thus allowing us to deduce that the events occurred 6 years before the beginning of the manga, which as we know is set in 2001, and Ichigo was 15 years old in the first chapter. The captain of the 12th Division, Mayuri Kurotsuchi, has a very unique but disturbing relationship with his Zanpakuto, Ashisogi Jizo. Mayuri is known for his relentless pursuit for scientific research and experimenting on his test subjects, but if you pay attention to the story, you'll learn that he has experimented on and modified his own body. Mayuri is most likely the only Shinigami to have also extensively modified his own Zanpakuto, which he reveals to us in chapter 516. We can tell that he frequently experiments on his blade and has remodeled Ashisogi Jizo considerably in comparison to the first time that we see it. Mayuri's treatment of his Zanpakuto becomes disturbing when you remember that a Zanpakuto is not only a reflection of a Shinigami soul, but it is also a sentient being of its own. The shape and abilities that a Zanpakuto exhibits are based upon the soul of the wielder. Considering that Mayuri's Bankai was modified, it is safe to assume that he had performed some crazy experiments upon himself. During the Huecomundo arc, when he battles against Xyle Aparo, we see that he restored his Zanpakuto to its original state. This is because his Zanpakuto was damaged during his battle against Uryu. Mayuri's modifications have enabled him to alter the composition of his Zanpakuto's poison, as well as being able to change the physical structure and abilities of his Bankai. The fact that he sidestepped improving his bond with his Zanpakuto and simply modified his blade highlights that he would rather risk his own life and harm his own soul for the sake of progress. This is something that isn't really focused on much, but Mayuri really forces anyone or anything to bend to his will, even his own body and his Zanpakuto. From one genius to another, let's talk about Urahara's Balls of Steel. During the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, a funny incident unfolds between the newly appointed captain of the 12th Division, Kisuke Urahara, and his lieutenant Hiyori Sarugaki. When Hiyori voices her dissatisfaction that her former captain Kiryo Hikifune was promoted and Urahara has now replaced her, she impulsively, without any warning, kicks Urahara in the crotch. Instead of Urahara falling to the floor in agony, Hiyori instead ends up hurting her foot after the kick. Urahara remains unfazed like a real-world monk who has practiced being kicked in the groin repeatedly. Bleach fans have theorized for years that he may have prepared for the kick in advance by wearing a metal cup over his family jewels, or more plausible explanations suggest that he was unfazed because he had captain level Reiatsu, so comparatively Hiyori's low Reiatsu attack just wasn't effective against him. This is similar to how Soifon's Suzumebachi was ineffective against Aizen. Whatever the reason may be, there's no denying that Urahara has captain level balls of steel. Hidetomo Kajomaru is a minor character who appears in the 1000-Year Blood War arc. He was the 6th seat of the 13th Division. Fans were confused when he first appeared within chapter 492 of the manga and in episode 3 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, because he has an uncanny resemblance to an unforgettable man. People thought that Kajumaru was Sosuke Aizen, or his long-lost twin brother who was separated at birth. Unfortunately, there is no proof of any connection between Kajumaru or Aizen, but he was separated in another way when he was cut in half by Haschwald. Within the story, Kajumaru serves to explain to us the history behind the conflict between the Shinigami and the Quincy. Despite all of his knowledge and experience, he ended up being killed anyway, which is why fans have immortalized him by referring to him as Aizen without a plan. Zangetsu, or as he is commonly referred to as Hollow Ichigo, is the manifested Zanpakuto spirit of Ichigo. He represents both Ichigo's Hollow and Shinigami powers. Hollow Ichigo is also referred to as White Ichigo, and in the first 2 Nintendo DS games, as well as the Heat the Soul PSP games, his name is literally Ichigo backwards. Hollow Ichigo's origins stem from a failed experimental hollow called White, which was created from Aizen's hollification experiments. White had become a part of Ichigo's mother after she was attacked by it. When Ichigo was born, he inherited White from his mother, and the hollow ended up fusing with his inherited Shinigami powers from his father, thus forming Ichigo's Zanpakuto spirit Zangetsu. He appears to be an inverted version of Ichigo. Despite Zangetsu's aggressive, arrogant, and berserker-like nature, his main desire is to protect Ichigo. For several years, fans were wondering if it was possible for hollows to reproduce, or if their creation was limited to the decay of a chain of fate or a soul being forcefully transformed into a hollow, like how Orihime's older brother was at the start of the series. Thankfully, we received some answers about the lore of hollows via question 346 on Club Outside. Kubo reveals that it is possible for 2 hollows to have an offspring. This has led fans to speculate about the offspring of characters like Haribel, Nell, and even Grimjow. Several anime references, including one to Bleach, were made during The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 25. This episode aired on the 19th of October 2014. The segment of The Simpsons episode which has the Bleach homage is titled The Others, which is a parody of the 2001 film of the same name. The Simpsons family are transformed into anime characters, with Marge Simpson being dressed as Rangiku Matsumoto from Bleach. The segment of the episode begins with the Simpsons family encountering a mysterious phenomena in their home, like weird blood messages appearing. The creative plot twist is that the phenomena is being caused by the ghosts of the 1987 original version of the Simpsons family. The 2 versions of the family end up meeting, which results in a chaotic scene where multiple alternate versions of the Simpsons family converge. We are shown several incarnations of the family, like a CGI version, or versions that pay homage to Adventure Time, South Park, Lego, and Minions, just to name a few. Now, we are interested in the anime incarnations of the family, so in addition to having Marge appear as Rangiku, we had Maggie appear as Pikachu, Bart as Naruto, Lisa as Mikasa, Homer as Roronoa Zoro, and lastly, Santa's little helper as Haku from Spirited Away. Now, this was an unexpected homage which proves that anime and even Bleach are pretty influential to pop culture. Okay, I think you're going to want to sit down for this one. The relationship between Sosuke Aizen and his lieutenant Momo Hinamori has been the subject of intense speculation amongst fans. This is in regards to a possible intimate encounter between the 2 of them, which Kubo had hinted at within chapter 100 of the manga. So during the chapter, if you pay attention, you see Momo wearing a yukata when she visits Aizen in the evening. In Japanese culture, a yukata is pretty much a bathrobe, and Momo wearing one is equivalent to her going to see her superior with a jacket on that is covering her lingerie. Momo does not appear to be nervous once she is inside Aizen's room, which allows us to deduce that this isn't the first time that she has been in his room like this. She also reveals how comforting Aizen's presence is to her, remarking how his words, voice, and everything about him soothes her fears. In the anime adaptation, this scene was slightly altered or censored. Instead of Momo having her hair down and wearing a yukata, she appears to be wearing her standard uniform, which adds more fuel to the flames of speculation that both Aizen and Momo ended up sleeping together here. Otherwise, why would the anime staff make these changes in her appearance, unless it culturally implied intimacy? So with all of this heated discussion about the topic, Kubo had addressed the matter in question 278 on his fan club Club Outside. He was asked by a fan about the relationship between Momo and Aizen. After the fan had read chapter 100 from volume volume 12 of the manga, they had wondered if both Aizen and Momo had a physical relationship, ending the question saying that they personally think that it would be out of character for Aizen to engage in intimacy with Momo. Now, interestingly, Kubo responds ambiguously, stating that he thinks it would be more fun to leave this question unanswered. While Kubo refrained from commenting on this further, we do know that Aizen manipulated Momo to a point where she would be unable to live without him, so it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that the two of them did sleep together. This one is ultimately left up to the reader's imagination, but if you asked me, they defo banged, and I mean look at the positioning of the pillows after Aizen walks away from her. Within each of these 74 manga volumes of Bleach, Tite Kubo enriches the story with a beautiful poem at the beginning of each book. The poems typically reflect the essence of the character that features on the cover of the manga volume, thus referencing the nature of their character or poetically conveying details about their mindset at that given point within the story. It is important to establish that these poems are best understood in their native language of Japanese. The poems that Kubo writes are deeply rooted in traditional Japanese literacy. This offers insane levels of insights into the characters. Now, unfortunately, because of this, the poems don't really translate well into other languages. The poems are complex in nature, and this is thanks to the nuances of the Japanese language, where a single phrase can hold multiple meanings and interpretations. Like Ichigo's name, which I spoke about earlier in the video, which means both 1 and 5, as well as strawberry, and depending on how you write it, can also mean the one who protects. This means that the Bleach volume poems hold way more nuance and have multifaceted meanings within their native language. The poems ultimately allow fans to delve beyond the surface layer of the story that Kubo is telling, and if time is spent studying these poems, you'll be rewarded by unlocking some of the deeper, subtle themes of the story that are not overtly conveyed to us within the manga. We are now plunging beneath the surface of the Bleach Berg as we are entering the realms of lesser known details about Bleach. We are well beyond the comfortable level of common knowledge. This is information that only the most devoted Bleach fans will be aware of. Consider everything up until now as a prelude for what's to come. We are now in the cold, dark waters beneath the surface layer, entering the deeper levels of the Bleach Berg. Get ready for more obscure nuggets of information because there is no going back now. Aging within the Bleach universe has always been a confusing topic for fans to get their heads around. This was ever since Rukia, who physically appears very young, reveals that she is in fact 150 years old at the very start of Bleach. Aging in Bleach is intricately linked to Reiatsu or spiritual energy, as well as the Soul King's existence, which influences the Soul Society. This affects how inhabitants of the Soul Society age. On average, Shinigami age at a rate of 1 to 10, where 1 human year is equivalent to 10 years in the Soul Society, with Reiatsu playing a key role in their physical development. Take the example of Rukia, who is young but is actually 150 years old in the Soul Society. This is equivalent to 15 human world years, so you could say that she is the same age as Ichigo. This difference in how aging works is also present within Hueco Mundo, which seems to be a realm that is frozen in time where the ages of inhabitants remain stagnant. Fans need to appreciate that Reiatsu is essential for the growth of a soul that resides within the Soul Society. Souls without Reiatsu remain in their initial state, whereas those with Reiatsu proceed to grow stronger and mature. Souls gifted with high reserves of Reiatsu become Shinigami, and they require food that is rich in spiritual energy in order to develop their powers. Also, most souls in the Soul Society don't need sustenance, but we learn from Rukia and Renji's backstory that hunger is only felt by souls who have high Reiatsu. As Shinigami age and their Reiatsu matures, their physical aging slows down, thus explaining why many high-level Shinigami retain their youthful appearance despite being hundreds of years old. In comparison, the human world within Bleach follows a normal aging process, one which is unaffected by Reiatsu. The difference is seen firsthand with individuals like Urahara and Yoraichi, who have been in the human world for over 100 years ever since they were exiled from the Soul Society. But despite this, they are still aging in accordance with the Soul Society's timeline. This explains why they have barely aged in comparison to the humans around them. I mean, just look at Old Man Yamamoto. He went from looking like he was in his early 50s to appearing to be in his late 60s over the span of 1,000 years. This is comparing his appearance from his days leading the original Gotei 13 to how he looks like just before he was killed. When Bleach is released in collected volumes, a new chapter appears on the left-hand side of the book. Kubo used the blank right-hand page in order to show us a variety of unique sketches or doodles. There are 4 types of volume sketches that Kubo usually does. The first type of sketch extends what has just happened within the preceding chapter, like the sketch from the end of chapter 1, which reveals a mysterious figure who we can identify as Uruhara appearing before a wounded Ichigo and the powerless Rukia, and this is following their battle against the Hollow Fishbone D. The second type of sketch reveals supplementary information to the events of the chapter that we have just read, with Kubo sharing details about the lore or the world building of the series. An example of this is from the end of chapter 4, where we are shown the layout of Orihime's apartment complex with information of who she is living around. The third type of sketch represents a form of symbolic imagery which links back to the events of the chapter that the sketch is drawn after. These types of sketches are darker in tone and they are different to the typical volume sketch that Kubo does. An example of this is from the end of chapter 325, where we see a shadowy Reaper figure wielding a scythe-like weapon which was drawn following the release of Shuhei Hisagi's Zanpakuto Kazeshini. So this sketch is pretty much a silhouette of Hisagi's Zanpakuto spirit. The fourth and final type of volume sketch reveals a short story that is running parallel to the main events of the manga. These sketches are often prologues to special bonus chapters or as lead-ups to full-blown color spreads. An example of this can be seen in the volume sketches that appear within volumes 22 and 23 of the manga. When pieced together, these sketches tell a story of Kon attempting to romantically dominate the Soul Society. These short volume sketches lead up to the Shinigami Women's Association bonus chapter, which was released within the Bleach character data book Souls, and it was later collected into the end of volume 23. Colorful Bleach, also known as Tedious Everyday Tales Colorful Bleach, is a series of 37 full-color 2-page chapters, which were released within V-Jump, a monthly magazine, over 2 years. They had started in January 2005 and they had ended in September 2007. Colorful Bleach wrapped up because Kubo was struggling to continue making more alongside his tight weekly chapter release schedule. He promised that he would continue making more if his circumstances had changed, but unfortunately this didn't happen. Colorful Bleach was eventually collected into a complete volume called Bleach Official Bootleg Karaburi Plus. Colorful Bleach gave us a wholesome slice-of-life look into the daily lives of the Shinigami. Some of the chapters focused on non-Gotei 13 members like Ganju or the Kurosaki family, and these were stories which were unrelated to the events unfolding within the manga. Colorful Bleach chronologically takes place after Aizen, Gin and Tozen had defected from the Soul Society. The chapters also included references to real-world events like Jump Festa, and they even feature some of the Bleach games releasing at the time. Kubo included the Shinigami Women's Association heavily within the chapters, and like I spoke about earlier, Bleach Colorful was adapted into the anime omake called Illustrated Guide to Shinigami. Kubo has drawn a lot of bonus content for the Bleach manga. This bonus material can be divided up into 3 types. The first type of bonus chapter spans around 1 or 2 pages, which typically is a gag comic strip which is drawn to commemorate a New Year celebration, for example. The second are bonus manga chapters which are numbered in minuses, which are set before the events of the very first Bleach chapter. This is chapters like minus 12.5 for example. These omake bonus chapters reveal important backstory details that could not be included within the main story. The third and final type of manga omake are the bonus chapters which are chronologically set after the events of chapter 1. They are numbered with decimal points in order to denote which chapters they chronologically occurred between. For example, like chapter 260.5. Let's start by talking about all of the short manga omake, beginning with Bleach Pirate Team. This is a short chapter included within the Bleach character data book Souls. It serves as a fun what-if story reimagining the roles of the various Bleach characters if they were to be pirates. Like Kinpachi would be the captain and Ichigo would be in charge of the helm. Bleach Pirate Team really sets the tone for these short stories, as there isn't much of a tale to tell here, as it just serves as a playful alternate take on Bleach. Next, we have a short manga omake which Kubo drew in order to celebrate the 2008 New Year. It's called Byakuya's Gift. Byakuya gives Ichigo a New Year's present in the form of a pass which lets him take anything for free from the stores in the Soul Society which are managed by the Kuchiki family. This obviously excites Rukia as she points out that Ichigo is set for life. Now he won't have to work a day in his life thanks to this gift. But Ichigo reminds her that the pass only works in the Soul Society. Christmas in Carmine is a 1.5 page special chapter that was included within the Bleach character databook Souls. Rukia insists that everyone wear a Santa suit. Ichigo of course refuses, but he is quickly embarrassed when he notices that everyone else is wearing one. The chapter ends with Uryu telling Ichigo that he will not make him a Santa suit even if he begs him. Kubo draws a sketch of Ichigo wearing a Santa suit with a Quincy cross on the back of it, which hints that Uryu did in fact end up making one for him. Another omake included within the Souls databook is called Keigo and Tadanobu. It centers around Keigo and Mizuhiro eating popsicles while discussing where Chad and Ichigo could be. Phone Crazy on Stage and When You Are the Punchline are two short bonus chapters which are included in the Souls databook. They revolve around a talent contest with Kon and the Gote 13 participating. They feature funny moments like Byakuya failing at telling a cell phone joke on stage, and then Mayuri explaining Nemu's role in their performance. Shigekuni Clause was a short omake which was made to commemorate the 2010 New Year. It involves several characters giving their Christmas wish lists to Head Captain Yamamoto. Byakuya's request, for example, explains how he will be away for the holidays as he asks for his 5 gardens to be taken care of. The official Captain's Guide to Gote 13 cleaning is the final short manga omake, which was released alongside chapter 431 to celebrate the 2011 New Year. This is a notification letter which was addressed to all of the captains explaining that the use of bankai is prohibited for everyday mundane tasks, as we are shown comedic examples of bankai being used to scold subordinates who are slacking off, or even bankai being used to pick up heavy items. Next, we have the bonus chapters with minus numbers. Now these reveal key events that occurred before the first manga chapter. A notable example of well-known minus chapters that we have already discussed are the Turn Back the Pendulum arc chapters, which took place from chapters minus 108 to minus 97. Now these bonus minus chapters I'll be speaking about are not as commonly known amongst fans, despite them being canon to the chronology of the story, starting with chapter minus 17, Prelude for the Straying Stars. This special chapter is included at the end of volume 15, and it should be read after chapter 130 of the manga. This bonus chapter is set within the Soul Society during the time when Momo, Renji, and Kira were still at the Shinigami Academy. It tells the story of the very first mission that they were sent on. They were also accompanied by Shuhei Hisagi. During this time, Hitsugaya was still fairly young and he was living with his grandmother and Momo. He was not attending the Shinigami Academy and was even adamant that he would never leave his grandmother's side to study at the academy. This special chapter obviously takes place before Everything But the Rain, which occurs 20 years before the 1000-Year Blood War arc, and Hitsugaya is the 3rd seated officer of the 10th Division at that time. So we can assume that this chapter most likely covers events that had occurred over 50 years ago. And the last point, this chapter is adapted into episode 46 of the anime. The next minus chapter follows up from the last one, and it is titled chapter minus 16, Dying in the Ice Fields. This occurs between Prelude for the Straying Stars and Before Everything But the Rain. It features a young Hitsugaya who first meets his future lieutenant Rangiku and is convinced by her to join the Shinigami Academy in order to control the overwhelming powers of his Zanpakuto spirit Hyorin Maru. This special chapter was made to commemorate the release of the second Bleach movie, The Diamond Dust Rebellion. It is a canon reveal of the past of Hitsugaya. This chapter can be found at the end of volume 32, and it should be read after chapter 286. It was also adapted into episode 239 of the anime. Next up, we have chapter minus 12.5 called Blooming Under a Cold Moon. It was released after chapter 168, and again, it is another Hitsugaya-centric story, as we follow the events that unfold during one of his birthdays. Rangiku plans an evening of watching fireworks with him, Momo, and Captain Aizen. During this special chapter, Hitsugaya is a captain, which reveals that this takes place after Everything But the Rain. This bonus chapter reveals to us a key moment involving Aizen interacting with Hitsugaya before the events of the Soul Society arc. It is strange to once again see Aizen playing this facade of being the stereotypical nice guy. This chapter was published at the start of volume 20 and it was adapted into episode 60 of the anime. Approaching closer to chapter 1, we have chapter 0.8 titled A Wonderful Error. This bonus chapter gives us a glimpse of Ichigo's first day at term at their new school. This is when his friend Mizuhiro first meets and befriends both Ichigo and Chad. This is a really insightful chapter, and one that sheds some light on the lives of Ichigo and his friends before chapter 1. Ichigo and Chad had a reputation for being hoodlums. Keigo was disappointed that they were attending the same school as them, as he eventually learns that they are not as bad as what he had imagined after Ichigo ends up saving him from the hoodlum Oshima. This chapter was made after chapter 107 and it can be found at the end of volume 12, and it was also adapted into episode 227 of the anime. Chapter 0, Side the Sand, is the first part to the two-part story which makes up Bleach Chapter 0. This chapter reveals to us the events leading up to Ichigo meeting Rukia during their fateful encounter in chapter 1 of the manga. Side the Sand centers around Ichigo commenting on the nature of fate and reality, as he thinks over his unchanging powerlessness when he spots the blood from the soul of a young boy that he was unable to protect. He states that he can see, touch, and talk to spirits, but he can do nothing to help them after they disappear, as they suddenly leave behind only traces of blood, with the faint smell of fear. The chapter ends with him meeting the soul of a little girl as he wipes the tears from her face, reassuring her not to cry. This chapter affirms Ichigo's desire for power so that he can protect others. He further reinforces this desire by his wish at the end of the chapter to wield a strong blade that is powerful enough to shatter the grinding gears of fate. This bonus chapter was released at the end of volume 23 after the release of chapter 205, and it was also adapted into episodes 109 as well as episode 227. Following up from side A, we have chapter 0, side B, the Rotator. This reveals the events just before chapter 1 of the manga, but told through the perspective of Rukia, as she is informed that she is being stationed in the human world within an area of Karakura town for a month. She embarks on her first mission as Ukitake sees her off. Meanwhile, Renji just finds out that he has been promoted to the lieutenant of the 6th division. Ikaku, Momo, and Kira are aware that Rukia means a lot to him, so they advise him to quickly tell her before she leaves for her month-long mission. But Renji states that he will tell her when she comes back during his promotion ceremony, which is in a month's time anyway. Side B, the Rotator, answers Ichigo's questions about fate and the poem at the end of the first half, as we learn about the Rotator which guides the crushing gears of fate. This half of chapter 0 was also published at the end of volume 23, and it was adapted into episodes 109 and 227. We now continue with the bonus manga chapters which chronologically occur after the first chapter of the manga. Chapter 25.2 is titled Things Like Loneliness, and it is a 4-page bonus chapter that was released within the first Bleach databook Souls. This chapter takes place on the 18th of June, the day after the anniversary of Ichigo's mother's death. It occurs immediately after chapter 25, where Ichigo learns that his mother was killed by the Hollow, the Grand Fisher. It helps to explore the complicated friendship between Tatsuki and Ichigo, as she scolds him for skipping 2 days of school as he sits by the riverside. It details how the two of them have grown distant over time, how she thinks about how they are no longer as close as what they used to be, and it makes her feel lonely. She thinks that she doesn't care about feeling lonely, as she then invites Ichigo to the arcade to play games. It's another insight into one of Ichigo's friends from Karakura town, and I really wish that we got more material like this covering some of the characters who don't develop powers and fight alongside Ichigo. It makes you think about Tatsuki's loneliness and how she continued to become distant with Ichigo over the course of the story. Now we have some light-hearted material with chapter 88.5, which is titled Karakura Superheroes. The official Shinigami who is assigned to protect Karakura town, Zenosuke, is shocked to learn that Don Kanonji's group of Karakura superheroes have been taking out hollows within his assigned area of Karakura town. This is a fun side story that served as the inspiration for several filler episodes, like episode 33, 54, and 55. Chapter 88.5 was released at the end of volume 10 10 of the manga. Chapter 260.5 is titled Bleach on the Beach, and it gave anime staff the inspiration for the obligatory beach episode which is found within every anime, as this chapter was adapted into episode 228. Bleach on the Beach takes place sometime after the end of the Soul Society arc, and it's another fun side story as we see the Gote 13 having fun at the beach as they compete to create the best sand sculpture. This chapter was released at the end of volume 29 and it should be read following chapter 260. Back to the serious stuff, we have the special chapter titled Not B But B. This bonus material reveals to us the backstory of Ukiura as we learn that this material was cut from the manga due to timing issues so that more focus could have been given to battles and stories surrounding Ichigo. This bonus chapter is critical in understanding the character of Ukiura and his origins, helping us to understand his nihilistic view on life and the void that he has in the place of his heart. The chapter is more like a poem than a linear story, helping to philosophically convey Ukiura's beliefs in nihilism and his feelings of emptiness. Sadly, this chapter was never adapted into the anime, nor was it officially released in English, but it can be found untranslated in the third Bleach character data book called Unmasked. The second Bleach Omake chapter, which was made to commemorate the release of a Bleach movie, is titled Imaginary Number 1 The Unforgiven. It was a tie-in chapter to the release of Bleach Movie 4 Hellverse. It reveals to us an insight into Bleach's interpretation of Hell as we see two key villains of the Bleach story, Xyloparo and Aranero, landing in a strange new land as they learn that they have just arrived within Hell. This chapter was released within the movie pamphlets that were handed out to the theater viewers of the fourth Bleach movie. This special chapter should ideally be read after the Fake Karakura Town arc. I also cover the events of this chapter during my video which explains Hell within Bleach. The final special chapter released during the serialization of Bleach was chapter 520.5, which is titled Walk Under Two Letters. This special chapter has Shuhei Hisagi visiting the grave of a Shinigami called Kanisawa. She was first revealed to us in chapter -17 and was one of the Shinigami who were trained with Hisagi and was sent with him on that first mission, which was detailed within chapter -17, where we learn that she was killed by a large hollow. Hisagi visits Kanisawa's grave every year on the anniversary of her death, as he states that he wanted to visit her before he leaves the Serete in order to train with his captain Kensei. This chapter chronologically occurs after the first invasion of the Quincy, and it should be read after chapter 520. It was released at the end of volume 17 of the manga, and it was first published within the Japanese-only Bleach data book, which is called 13 Blades. There is also the Bleach one-shot No Breaths from Hell, which I've also spoken about earlier in the video because it is more well known amongst fans. Did you know that Tite Kubo had a voice role within the Bleach anime? Before the original 2004 Bleach anime released, Kubo voiced Kon in the Bleach OVA Memories in the Rain. Let's now dive into a bit more information about these Bleach OVAs. Bleach had a few OVAs released which not too many fans are aware of. The first Bleach OVA is titled Memories in the Rain. It was screened in Japan to attendees of the Jump Festa 2004 anime tour, and it was later released on DVD. This OVA was the first animated adaptation of Bleach, and it was released as a pilot before the original Bleach anime had premiered. Memories in the Rain faithfully adapts the third volume of the manga, which spans about chapters 17 to 25, as it condenses down material which is covered from episodes 7 to 9 of the anime into an incredible 30-minute feature. Memories in the Rain features high-quality art and animation, and to date it is one of the best animated adaptations of the Bleach manga. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you go and check it out. Now, unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the second Bleach OVA, which is titled The Sealed Sword Frenzy. This premiered at the Jump Festa 2005 anime tour, and it takes place a little after the Soul Society arc. It tells us an all-new story featuring the OVA exclusive character called Baishin, who was a Shinigami sealed by the Soul Society over 400 years ago. Unfortunately, because of the 32-minute runtime of this OVA, nowhere near enough time is given for us to care about Baishin as a villain. Despite the Sealed Sword Frenzy featuring several fan-favorite characters, the rushed plot and underwhelming animation fail to deliver anything meaningful or worth your time. If you are to watch this OVA though, definitely check it out for this one scene where Renji fires a shotgun at Ichigo's Kubo's dad. It's one of the funniest things that I have ever seen from the Bleach anime. Aside from this, the second Bleach OVA is a sad reminder of how bad some of the early anime filler content was. A third, lesser known 12-minute OVA or special was released alongside Jump Festa 2008. This adapts material from Colorful Bleach Part 29 to 35 called A Backroom Meeting of the Shinigami Women's Association and Operation Gote 13 Stalls, which was adapted from pages 54 to 67 of Colorful Bleach. The story involves Nanao deciding that the Gote 13 need to set up stalls at this year's Jump Festa, a festival that is held within the real world in order to celebrate Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. She proposes that each of the Gote 13 divisions come up with a food item to sell at the festival. As we go through each of the divisions and their proposed ideas, this short 12-minute special was also released on DVD around the same time that Bleach Movie 3 Fade to Black was in theaters. Since its release, this DVD has become hard to find, but it does appear on Yahoo Japan auctions from time to time. Before Bleach became the iconic series that it is today, Kubo had initially conceptualized it under a different concept, premise, and name. The early concept for Bleach was titled Snipe, with Rukia as the protagonist in a world where Shinigami wielded guns instead of swords. This early version featured Ichigo in a suit, also holding a firearm. This is a stark contrast to the traditional kimonos and katanas that would later come to define Bleach. As Kubo developed his story, he sought to create something unique, leading to significant changes to the clothing and weaponry. After shifting the direction of his story with the use of guns being toned down, it rendered the original title Snipe unsuitable, thus prompting a last-minute title change to the name Bleach. This new name Bleach evokes thoughts of the color white, which contrasts the black uniforms that are worn by the Shinigami. This transition from Snipe to Bleach occurred so late in the developmental process that promotional materials for the pilot chapter in Jump magazine advertised the pilot chapter of Bleach as Snipe. Elements of Snipe linger in Bleach, notably in Rukia's character design and in the use of firearms in Kubo's other work, Burn the Witch. The Bleach pilot chapter was published in Akumaru Jump issue 13, which was released on the 24th of January 2001. In terms of historical significance, it is one of the most important chapters that Kubo has ever released. This pilot chapter was in fact submitted to Shonen Jump just after Kubo had wrapped up work on his first serialized manga, Zombie Powder. The pilot chapter was created after the original idea for Bleach was rejected by Shonen Jump, and Kubo was encouraged by Toriyama. The idea for Bleach had started with a picture of a girl that Kubo had drawn. This girl would eventually become Rukia Kuchiki. The pilot chapter has several differences from the finalized version of the Bleach story. Ichigo's hair was black instead of orange, Orihime actually dies in the pilot chapter and is sent to the Soul Society, and the hollows that feature in the pilot are not wearing their iconic masks. If you want to learn more about the origins of the story that we all know and love, then definitely check out the pilot chapter of Bleach. This is a special chapter that you should read before chapter 1, and it can be found within the first Bleach databook Souls. Following the successful release of the pilot chapter, Bleach was serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump on the 20th of August 2001. At the back of the Bleach manga volumes, Kubo shares with us character profiles for the Bleach cast. Here, he uniquely assigns an official theme song to the characters, thus allowing us a deeper insight into the musical inspiration behind the design and personality of Kubo's characters. These theme songs vary in genre from pop to rock, and in general, they serve to reflect the essence of each of the characters, with Ichigo's character song being News from the Front by Bad Religion, and Rukia Kuchiki's theme being Windstock by Ashley McIsaac. There are songs for each of the characters in the series, resulting in a massive playlist of songs which helps us to better understand the characters and how these songs represent them in some way. Yoroichi is revealed to have a distinctive sun tattoo on her left thigh in a full color manga spread that was drawn by Kubo within volume 26 of the manga. This official art depicts the Bleach girls in their swimming attire. Strangely, Yoroichi's tattoo is not present within the manga story, as we don't see it on her thigh when she activates her God of Thunder form during the 1000-year Blood War arc. The design of Shunsui Zanpakuto spirit Katen Kyokotsu was revealed during the end of the 1000-year Blood War arc, but this design was first conceptualized earlier in the anime during a filler arc called the Zanpakuto Rebellion. While the story told is not canon to the manga, it does have some level of canon canonicity in terms of the designs of the Zanpakuto that are featured in the filler arc, as they were all designed by Kubo himself. Kubo spoke about his involvement in the filler arc within Jump magazine, revealing that he was behind the Zanpakuto designs for the anime original story. In a Akumaru Jump interview, Kubo wanted the Zanpakuto spirits to be in human form. Consequently, Zabimaru's Zanpakuto design was different to how it appeared within the manga, with the human form of Zabimaru being interpreted by anime character designer Masashi Kudo. So we can confirm that the Zanpakuto designs were a mixture of Kubo's concept art and his requests combined with Masashi Kudo's character designs, which ended up bringing all of the Zanpakuto to life within this filler arc. If you're curious about Yhwach's appearance in his younger years, then you can compare how he looks to Old Man Zangetsu and Tensa Zangetsu. We know that they are the manifestation of Ichigo's Quincy power, and they reside within his soul. Also, they have taken up the appearance of Yhwach from various points in his life. Old Man Zangetsu resembles Yhwach from 1,000 years ago, where he had led the Empire of Light to battle against the original Gotei 13, while Tensa Zangetsu resembles Yhwach in his teenage years. This is confirmed within chapter 565 when we see a younger Yhwach who shares an uncanny resemblance with Tensa Zangetsu. The Bleach Abridged series that I spoke about earlier popularized a pretty funny physical resemblance between Sosuke Aizen and the singer Josh Groban. Within the Abridged series, Aizen insists that the Arrancar address him as Josh Groban. This extends to others mishearing Aizen's name for Josh Groban. Adding to this joke, when he activates his Shikai Kyoka Suigetsu, he is able to convince others to perceive him as the singer. Looking at the resemblance between the two of them, I can't blame people for being confused. To casual fans, both the Shinigami and the realm that they represent, the Soul Society, are perceived to be the heroic good guys. However, there is a sinister, darker side to the Soul Society that becomes hard to ignore the more time that you spend with the series, beginning with the disparity in the living conditions within the Soul Society, comparing the poverty within the outer districts of Rukongai to the prosperous innermost districts, and the Shinigami who are the most well-off residing within the Serite at the center of the Soul Society. Additionally, the Soul Society is governed in an authoritarian manner, with the Shinigami maintaining order, while also being involved in acts of violence, political corruption, and even sinister scientific experiments. The Gotei 13 believe in taking action for the greater good. This can quickly blur the boundaries of right and wrong. Take for instance Mayuri ordering his division to kill 28,000 residents of Rukongai at the very beginning of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. This was done in order to correct the balance of souls, which was disrupted by the Quincy killing large numbers of hollows in Huecomundo. Head Captain Yamamoto is bound by customs and traditions, which makes it difficult for anyone to oppose his rule. He did nothing to question the execution of Rukia, nor was he suspicious of the orders being sent from the Central 46, considering that Aizen had taken over Central 46 and was sending out orders on their behalf. Aizen was aware of these flaws within the Soul Society, which made it easy for him to exploit them and get away with so much for so long. He was even able to pin the blame for his holification experiments on Kisuke Urahara, which resulted in him being exiled from the Soul Society. The flawed nature of the Shinigami and the Soul Society adds a layer of complexity to the Bleach narrative, making it easy for us to understand the motives behind antagonists like Aizen and Yhwach. While the Soul Society attempts to maintain order and balance, their willingness to do anything to maintain the status quo makes them a terrifying side to be rooting for, especially when you consider the plans that Ichibei, the leader of the Zero Division, had for Ichigo. To top it off, we haven't even touched on the truth that the Shinigami are concealing from everybody about the existence of the Soul King. Did you know that Kubo created Kisuke Urahara's character after being inspired by Snufkin, a character from the Moomin Valley novels? Kubo was most likely exposed to the work via the Moomin anime series. Snufkin is known for his nomadic lifestyle, his philosophical views, and his disdain for material possessions. These traits resemble Urahara's personality and his own perspective on life. Urahara is known for his laid-back nature, along with his iconic clothing and the hat that he wears, which resembles Snufkin's outfit, as well as the high levels of intelligence which both of the characters have. Urahara, similar to Snufkin, shies away from authority and the norms of society, preferring to live a life of freedom and contemplation. These two characters have a lot of inward complexity, which is perfectly contrasted by their outward simplicity. Snufkin and Urahara blend playfulness with profound levels of intelligence. When Kubo was interviewed by the US Jump magazine during his visit to San Diego Comic-Con in 2008, he revealed this fascinating piece of information which he hadn't ever revealed before, even within the Bleach Souls databook. So Urahara is based on Snufkin, and Kubo, like many of us, thinks that Snufkin is very cool. From an early age, Kubo was interested in drawing, having decided to become a mangaka in elementary school after he had read several manga like Saint Seiya, as he was inspired by the story of a boy who trains to become a Knight of Athena. Saint Seiya is said to have been the inspiration for the uniform and Zanpakuto which appear within Bleach, because Saint Seiya features characters that all wear distinctive armor and they have unique weapons. Growing up, Kubo also loved reading Dragon Ball, citing it as a story where the villains are incredibly cool. It was Dragon Ball that had taught him that villains must be strong, fearsome, and cool. Gigagi no Kitaro was another series that proved to influence Kubo's art and his love for ghouls and creepy horror depictions. He loves the monsters that feature within the series. During an interview with Kubo from San Diego Comic-Con in 2008, he spoke about his love for Gigagi no Kitaro, admitting that it was his favorite manga along with Saint Seiya, which had inspired him to pursue a career in manga. He would constantly draw the different creatures that were featured within Gigagi no Kitaro, and he would imitate the protagonist of the story. His parents were indifferent to Kubo's desire to become a mangaka, so they weren't really encouraging or discouraging him. Now, a bizarre blend of fantasy and reality occurred when the Michigan Police Department had discovered the ancient sword of the Meth King. This was all during a routine traffic stop. Bleach fans will immediately recognize that this is the Shikai release of Zabimaru, the Zanpakuto of Renji Ibarai. The fearsome cosplay weapon was confiscated into police evidence along with firearms, ammunition, and methamphetamine. The police department made a Facebook post about the seizure, which went viral on Facebook in March 2020. Aside from the Zabimaru replica, people were also commenting and joking about the dangerous nature of the 3-hole puncher, which was accidentally photographed on the table too. Now, that is a fearsome weapon that you don't want to underestimate. Bleach is set in a version of the real world, which means that there are plenty of pop culture references that occur within the manga, like in chapter 58 where one of the students in Ichigo's class speaks about the band Coldplay. There are references also made to DC Comics heroes like Superman or Ichigo and Tatsuki playing Tekken, as well as references to Weekly Shonen Jump existing in the Bleach world, with the Vizard Love being seen reading the magazine during the Arrancar arc. Additionally, even the Dragon Ball series exists within the Bleach world, as we see Noelle from Burn the Witch have the Dragon Ball recap music as a phone ringtone. The first Bleach movie, Memories of Nobody, may actually be canon to the Bleach manga. Fans started to speculate this following the release of chapter 627, where Ichigo mentions having been to the Valley of Screams before, a location that was first introduced within movie 1. Even within the Can't Fear Own World light novels, the group of villains from the movie the Ryodoji family are referenced. Kubo's involvement with the production of the movie and his praise of it suggests that he may have approved of the storyline. Additionally, the post-credit scene of the movie hints at Ichigo retaining his memories of Senna, which aligns with his comments in the manga where he acknowledges the Valley of Screams. So it is highly likely that Bleach Movie 1 is in fact canon to the manga. The Sternritter Gremmy had come to be known for his reality warping shrift ability, the Visionary. Following his defeat within the manga and how his brain was used by Tokinada in Can't Fear Own World, fans had started to speculate that Gremmy may be connected to the Soul King. Theories had started to emerge suggesting that Gremmy's brain may be a sentient body part which he had inherited from the Soul King. Tokinada was able to use Gremmy's brain in order to create the artificial being Hikone from all of the Soul King fragments that he had collected from deceased Fullbringers over the years. Candice noted that Hikone exhibited personality traits which were similar to Gremmy while in battle. Can't Fear Own World implies that Gremmy may be similar to Gerard, who has the heart of the Soul King, and Paranaida, who has the left arm of the Soul King, but this is never explicitly confirmed to us. The light novel suggests that Gremmy's brain is devoid of consciousness, but it has amazing power as it played a critical role in stabilizing the spiritual pressure within Hikone. So unless somebody asks Kubo on Club Outside, I think that it's safe to assume that Gremmy's brain is not the brain of the Soul King. Bleach's concept of afterlife and the realms in the series bears a striking resemblance to the Buddhist cycle of samsara, the 6 realms of existence. Starting with the good or positive realms, firstly we have the world of the living, which is the human realm, the soul society, which represents the Ashura realm, the royal palace where the Soul King and the Zero Division reside, which is divided into sectors and it is similar to the Deva realm. Then you have the 3 evil realms, beginning with Hueco Mundo, which parallels the Hungry Ghost realm as it is characterized by eternal craving and starvation. Hell is of course the hellish realm, a place of punishment and suffering. And lastly you have the Beast realm, where Komamura and his clan reside, which parallels the Buddhist animal realm. Bleach differs from traditional Buddhist beliefs with how souls continue to be recycled and they remain within the cycle of samsara, as there is no prospect of attaining peace via nirvana and breaking free from the loop of suffering. So while based off of Buddhism, the Bleach world is one of perpetual struggle and rebirth, a reality devoid of peace that is found from enlightenment, which doesn't appear to be possible within Bleach. Earlier in the video we spoke about the formidable Chair-sama, but there is a terrifying being which rivals it. In chapter 632 we are shown Yhwach riding his horse during a flashback from over 1,000 years ago. When Yhwach exerts his immense spiritual pressure, he unleashes a powerful force which collapses everybody in his vicinity. When he does this in the flashback, everybody falls aside from a young Hashwald and the incredible Horse-sama, who remains unaffected and stays standing upright. It's like the blast of intense spiritual pressure was nothing but a gentle breeze of air to Horse-sama. Yhwach's horse has earned the respect of fans thanks to this bizarre display of endurance. Everyone is speculating what power level Horse-sama possesses and if it is potentially stronger than the infamous Chair-sama. The Espada in Bleach are named after real-world architects and designers. Each of the Espada names are a clever reference to the name of an architect modified to fit the Japanese language and then reinterpreted with some slight differences. For example, Stark's name is derived from Felipe Stark, while Barrigan's name comes from Louis Barrigan Morfin. Ukyora's name is most likely inspired by the combined names of Patricia Ukyola and Hubert Schiffer. Grimjow's name is a combination of Nicholas Grimshaw and the names of the designers Edmund Jaeger and Jacques David Licoulter. This naming convention extends to the Priveron Espada and the Frachion, with Neutera's Frachion Tesla being inspired by Nikola Tesla and Dordoni originating from Rodolfo Dordoni. Kubo's love for architecture and design shines through with the names that he gives his characters, and it genuinely gives Bleach a newfound fascinating connection to the real world. Bleach has several data books, but only 2 of them have been released in English. Bleach Official Character Book Souls is the first ever data book. It offers an extensive recap of the Bleach manga from the very beginning to the end of the Soul Society arc, along with a preview for the Arrancar arc. It was released in Japan on the 3rd of February 2006 and it was translated and released in English on the 18th of November 2008. Souls gives us insights into key story elements, sharing new details with us about the Gotei 13 and the Soul Society, as well as offering mini profiles of each of the Shinigami who appear within the Soul Society arc. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Souls also contains unseen manga or make chapters. The second data book, Bleach Official Character Book Masked, covers the manga from the beginning of the Arrancar arc all the way up until the end of the Turn Back the Pendulum short flashback. Masked was released in Japan on the 4th of August 2010 and it was released in English on the 6th of March 2012. Masked features character profiles and it elaborates on major story points. It also includes a full color spread of the Gotei 13 from 100 years ago. Aside from the 10th Division captain and lieutenant who are missing, everyone else is present. The databook reveals that before Uruhara became the leader of the 12th Division, there were a lot of changes that were being made to the captains. The 10th Division captain position was being selected following the death of the previous captain, which explains why it wasn't included within the color spread. Additionally, the 11th Division captain Kimpachi Kikanjo doesn't appear within the Turn Back the Pendulum flashback because he was newly appointed at the time. He is however shown within the databook as we learn that he was the individual who Kimpachi Zaraki killed in order to become the Squad 11 captain. You're definitely determined if you've reached the heart of the Bleach Berg. From here on out, the comforting rays of sunshine are a distant memory. This is territory that only the most dedicated Bleach fans will be familiar with, so we are going to be delving into more Japan-exclusive material, untranslated books, and even more obscure details about Bleach that you didn't know about. This is way beyond the point of no return, so without further delay, let's dive into the center of the iceberg. After the Bleach Fullbring arc wrapped up within the manga, on the 11th of January 2012, the Bleach manga went on a 3-week break in order to allow Kubo time to prepare for the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Over the 3-week break, instead of chapters, we received 3 installments of bonus material called Bleach Repeat and Reboot. They dropped hints about the final arc, and they revealed details about the story up until the end of the Fullbring arc. They are just really fascinating insights to look back on, seeing all of the things that Kubo hinted at and desired to draw in comparison to how the Thousand Year Blood War arc turned out within the manga. It makes you wonder if some of the details that he spoke about that didn't make it into the manga, they may appear within the extended anime scenes. Kubo also included extra material for each week's volume of Repeat and Reboot, revealing various pre-production plans for the Bleach manga. Volume 1 of Repeat and Reboot released on the 18th of January 2012, and it was called Birth. So with each release, we learn what the Gotei 13 divisions have been doing over the 17-month break between the Arrancar arc and the Fullbring arc. In the first issue, Kubo covered details about the 1st to the 4th division. Some key information that we learn from Kubo here is that Head Captain Yamamoto is over 2,000 years old. Siphone's arm ended up being healed by the 4th division after her arm was aged by Baragon. Also, during the 17th month break, she ended up cutting her hair short. Rose returned to his position as captain of the 3rd division. Also, the other Vizards, Kensei and Shinji, returned to their captain roles from over 100 years ago. Kubo also hinted that Unohana was finally going to reveal the true form of a Zanpakuto during the final arc, as well as unraveling her braided hair for the very first time. The pre-production material with the first installment of Repeat and Reboot included Kubo's early designs for Bleach, back when the series was still called Snipe. Ichigo had glasses, Rukia was wearing a school uniform while wielding a scythe. Kubo also revealed the secret themes of each of the story arcs that were completed at that time. The Soul Society arc was about saving Rukia, the Arrancar arc was about saving Orihime, the Fullbring arc was connected to Chad, and Kubo refrains from sharing the secret theme about the final arc. But we obviously know that the Thousand Year Blood War arc was connected to Uryu. Kubo also shares that Shinji's character was designed early in the conception of Bleach. He even appeared on the color spread for the very first chapter. This is because Kubo wanted to draw a lot of stories about Ichigo's classmates, and Shinji was one of them. The last piece of bonus content is this sketch of Ichigo that Kubo had drawn 17 months after Aizen's defeat. It is the very first early design of Ichigo's Fullbring Shikai outfit, with the markings around his neck and arm, which are meant to represent the mixture of his Shinigami and Fullbring powers. The second volume of Repeat and Reboot was titled Stage, and it released on the 25th of January 2012. In this installment, we learn about how the 5th to 9th division spend their time during the 17-month time skip, and we also get hints for a never-before-seen battlefield location that will appear in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Beginning with the 5th division, Shinji has returned as a captain, as Kubo has expressed his desire to draw how Momo has recovered after being heartbroken from Aizen, as she now has a very trusting bond with her new captain. Kubo also revealed that several people trained over the 17 months in order to become stronger. This includes Renji. He does explain that they are not at the level of dealing with an Aizen level threat, but he does reassure us that they have become stronger. Funnily enough, before the arc begins, Kubo comments on how Renji's Bankai has changed. So I guess Kubo reworked this idea, so instead of having him train to level it up over these 17 months, he had his true Bankai awakened following his training in the Royal Palace. When commenting on the colourful coat that Shunsui wears, Kubo reveals that it has a history to it, which will be revealed in the final arc. He also explains that Shunsui will activate his Bankai too. Now, these are some massive spoilers that Kubo is casually dropping in order to build up the hype for the upcoming story. In the extra material for volume 2 of Repeat and Reboot, we find out key details about notable locations within the series. Kubo reveals info about Naruki City, which we learn in the final arc is under the jurisdiction of the 10th division, and this is where Isshin had fought against the Hollow White. Before all of this, Kubo confirmed confirmed that Naruki City is where Ichigo's friend Keigo lives, and it is the battlefield for the Fullbring arc, along with the execution base of operations being located there. Kubo then speaks about the Serete, stating that it is located in the center of the Soul Society, and this is where the Shinigami reside. The Soul Society itself has a 1 million year long history. Rukongai consists of 320 districts that surround the Serete, and Kubo reveals that Karakura Town is a town that is located near central Tokyo, and it is the most spiritually dense place in the world of the living, explaining why it is a hotspot for hollow activity. In terms of Hueco Mundo, he explains it is mostly a large desert, but it does have a location called Baragan City located there. In terms of hints about the setting for the final arc, Kubo hinted that it will be neither Karakura Town or the Soul Society. He explains that it is a new location, which he describes as being underneath somewhere, and it is unexpectedly close. This perfectly matches the descriptions of the Wandenreich city. Kubo did share some concept art for this new location, explaining that it is a palace made of ice, and the new enemies are hiding within the palace. To wrap up this second week's bonus content, Kubo hinted at the return of some Arrancar, explaining that if they return they will side with the Shinigami. When pressed, Kubo says that Ukiura can't return since he was turned into ash, but it is likely that Grimjaw will return as an ally. Also, he wondered about the involvement of Haribel, who is still alive, and how she could be involved in the story, but he doubts that Haribel would even leave Hueco Mundo. At this stage, Kubo wasn't 100% sure on bringing back the Arrancar, but he knows that he wants to utilize them as a group and not individually have them appear. He even speaks about his desire to have Nell appear in the upcoming final arc. The third and final volume of Bleach Repeat and Reboot released on the 1st of February 2012. This installment focuses on how Kubo has been planning the 1000-Year Blood War arc for over 5 years. The last volume also speaks about the 10th to the 13th divisions and their changes over the 17-month time skip. We start with Squad 10 as Kubo reveals that Toshiro Hitsugaya is a child prodigy who is the youngest captain in the history of the Gotei 13. Over these 17 months, he has been training and has perfected his Bankai Daiguren Hyorin Maru, which means that he attained his adult transformation during this time. Also, over the 17 months, Hitsugaya's height has not changed at all. Interestingly, Kubo also mentioned that Rangiku's past will be a significant plot point in the final arc, but unfortunately we didn't end up learning anything new about her, and maybe this will be corrected in the anime. In terms of the 11th division, Kubo notes how Kimpachi has removed the bells from his hair, and he has altered his hairstyle and his eye patch. Kubo also spoke about how he wants to draw the events that had led up to Kimpachi becoming the captain of the 11th division, but he fears that it will deviate from the main plot of the manga. Kubo speaks about the Bankai of the lieutenants as he comments on Yumichika's Bankai, which may not be a bad idea to reveal, but the thought of Kira's Bankai makes him feel sick. Moving on to Squad 12, Kubo says that Mayuri has kept busy with his endless research, and that he will most likely appear in the final arc with a new appearance. Finally, within the 13th division, Kubo comments on how things have drastically changed for them over the 17 months. This is with Rukia formally becoming the lieutenant of the division now. Kubo comments on how Ukitake's health condition remains unchanged, and Rukia becoming a lieutenant was a massive development, and Kubo wanted to draw it happening, but he fears that it would take up too many chapters, so instead he has decided to show it to us through flashbacks. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see these flashbacks in the final arc either, so there was a lot of bonus content with this final installment of Repeat and Reboot. We kick things off by being shown some of the mysteries of Bleach, which fans were expecting Kubo to answer in the final arc. First, we have the mystery of Ichigo's birth, which Aizen spoke about. Next, the meaning behind what Arrancars referred to as True Bloods. This is in reference to the Grand Fisher saying, if his father is a Shinigami, then he lost to Ichigo because he is a True Blood. Now, what does True Blood mean? The mysterious bond between Isshin and Ryuken is also mentioned. Just what could have occurred in their past which had led them to develop such a deep bond, despite them being Shinigami and Quincy? What secrets from their past are they hiding? Why is Ichigo similar to Kaien? Something that had confused Ukitake during the Soul Society arc. Also, what is the truth behind the death of Ichigo's mother? What had caused Aizen to turn against the Soul Society? Who are the Zero Division? And what is the secret past of Yoriichi and Urahara? And lastly, what happened to Hiyori and the other Vizards who didn't return to the Gotei 13? With these mysteries in mind, Kubo begins to reveal some details. He says that the final arc will will take place not too long after the Fullbring arc, so people's appearances will remain unchanged. Ichigo is still a substitute Shinigami performing his duties of Konso and eliminating hollows. In terms of the planning for the 1000-year Blood War arc, Kubo reveals that he started planning the details of it during the Arrancar arc. He was thinking about what story that he had wanted to draw after the Arrancar arc had wrapped up, and he had in mind a story about the very first substitute Shinigami before Ichigo. This of course ended up being the Fullbring arc, and after this he wanted to do a final story. Kubo hints at his desire to reveal the secrets behind Ichigo's birth, as he intends to clear up why Ichigo is so strong and what bloodline he belongs to. Lastly, Kubo spoke about how he wants to draw the story of how Yoriichi and Urahara had met over 100 years ago, explaining that the past of the Shinigami will be very important going into the final arc. Unfortunately, we didn't get the reveal of their backstory, so I do wonder if this is something that will be included in the anime. In terms of the Zero Division, Kubo speaks about how he has already designed all of their characters, but he just needs to figure out how they are going to appear in the story. Kubo hints at a situation that will be so dire that the Zero Division needs to appear. This was a massive tease since they didn't turn up for the battle with Aizen, so what could be more worse than that, which requires their attention? Fascinatingly, Kubo had also expressed his desire for Aizen to return to the story here, saying that he wanted to draw him appearing restrained. Repeat and Reboot had wrapped up by showing us the rough outline for the first 3 pages of chapter 480, along with a draft for the color spread introducing us to the final arc. The 1000-year Blood War arc had begun with the release of chapter 480 on the 8th of February 2012, thus ending this brief bonus question and answer segment with Kubo. Earlier, we spoke about the Bleach video games and how 4 of the Bleach games featured exclusive characters that were not seen within other works. Bleach Hanatareshi Yabo on the PS2 featured the villain Bansui Amatsuki. He used to work for the Soul Society as a researcher before he was transformed into an Arrancar. It was rumored that he was Urahara's mentor. Bleach Dark Souls on the Nintendo DS introduced the villain Kai, a defective mod soul that was accidentally given sentience. In the story of the game, he uses his shape-shifting powers in order to cause mayhem within the Soul Society. Bleach the Third Phantom on the Nintendo DS by far features the highest number of game-exclusive characters. This game tells us a spin-off storyline that was written by Kubo himself. The story follows Matsuri and Fujimaru Kudo, twin Shinigami, as well as their adoptive father Seigen Suzunami, who was also the former captain of the 5th Division, presumably before Aizen and even Shinji. In the past, they confront the hollow Arturo Plateado, who desires to destroy the Soul Society. Following a final battle against the Arrancar, Seigen and the twins are suspended in time and they awaken within the present day, where the Soul Society differs from the one that they had known, and they learn about the betrayal of Sosuke Aizen. Seigen turns against the Soul Society and he allies with Aizen when he begins to believe that the Shinigami had orchestrated the death of his sister Konaka Suzunami, and after he starts to believe that the Soul Society was behind the fall of his family, the Suzunami clan, Seigen ends up transforming into a monstrous transformation as he becomes a hollow-like creature. And the game also features Shio, another game-exclusive character. She is a unique spirit who, unlike normal souls, is unaffected by the Konso ritual, so she needs to be escorted to the Soul Society. She also appears to suffer from amnesia. The game-exclusive Arrancar Arturo Plateado first appeared in a game on the Nintendo Wii called Bleach Shattered Blade, which was released 2 years before Bleach the Third Phantom. Arturo Plateado is a powerful, naturally formed Arrancar from the past. He is well known within the lore of the Bleach games for having attempted to invade the Soul Society. In Bleach Shattered Blade, he attacked the Soul Society over 2,000 years before the present timeline of the story. He wanted to destroy the Shinigami for hunting the Hollows. His invasion led to half of the Gotei 13's military power being destroyed, but in the end he was unsuccessful when the Shinigami decided to instead lure him into a trap and seal him under the Sokyoku. However, when Ichigo ended up destroying the Sokyoku when he rescued Rukia, it ended up releasing the seal on Arturo, thus freeing him from his captivity. Arturo earns a fearsome reputation thanks to his Zanpakuto called Phoenix. It grants him the power to absorb the spirit energy of anyone that he defeats. This further boosts his strength and power. During Bleach Shattered Blade, after Arturo is freed, he shapeshifts into different Shinigami in order to gather the pieces pieces of the destroyed Sokyoku, which he intends on absorbing into his own body in order to become more powerful. In Bleach the Third Phantom, we learn more details about Arturo's backstory, which differs from Shattered Blade. This is all in addition to the role that the Kudo twins and the Suzunami clan played in his defeat. In the Third Phantom, his first attack on the Soul Society occurred 1,000 years ago, but his powers were not yet mature enough. Despite this, he was still strong enough to defeat half of the Gotei 13. He grew to become stronger with each battle as his Zanpakuto Phoenix absorbed the Reiatsu of his fallen victims. Bleach the Third Phantom reveals that instead of being sealed, Arturo is eventually defeated as he retreats to Hueco Mundo in an injured state in order to heal his wounds. Arturo attacks the Soul Society again 100 years before the present day as he battles Shunsui and Ukitake, who end up retreating so as to not be defeated by him and thus empower him further. Arturo then battles Yamamoto, who he recognizes from 1,000 years ago. Eventually, the Shinigami use an artifact called the Burning Water Mirror, which drains Arturo of his Reiatsu, thus defeating him. When he attempts to rise to fight again, he is suspended in time as a side effect of the Burning Water Mirror artifact, and he ends up being sent into the future along with Seigen Suzunami and the Kudo twins who I spoke about earlier. In the present day, Arturo Plateado is found in a weakened state by Genichimaru, and he then forms an alliance with Aizen, who welcomes him into his Arrancar army. In the Bleach Blade Battler's second game on the PS2, Hollow Ichigo reveals a variation to the Getsuga Tensho called the Niran Getsuga. This version of the attack is strikingly similar to Ichigo's cross-shaped Getsuga Jujisho, which he uses for the very first time during the 1000-year Blood War arc. The Niran Getsuga translates to Double Moonfang. It involves firing two Getsuga Tensho attacks in rapid succession, creating a cross-shaped attack. While it was used in a non-canon PS2 game which released back in September 2007, the Niran Getsuga perfectly foreshadows the Getsuga Jujisho, which first appears in chapter 583, released 7 years later in June 2014. As the god of all the realms, the Soul King is the most pivotal figure in Bleach. He was first revealed during the 1000-year Blood War arc, and his existence was explored in depth during the Can't Fear Homeworld light novels. Initially, we perceived him to be an all-powerful deity, but the Soul King is later revealed to be a limbless, lifeless entity imprisoned within a crystalline structure. This drastic contrast subverts expectations, painting him instead as a silent, passive figure. Aizen and Urahara referring to the Soul King as that thing hints at a deeper, unsettling truth about his existence. Before life and death was separated, in the primordial world, the Soul King was a powerful being who protected souls from hollows. He was betrayed and mutilated by the ancestors of the 5 great noble families, who had used his power in order to structure the Bleach universe into 3 separate realms. This original sin had led to the formation of the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and the world of the living. All of this is a dark secret known to only a select few within the Soul Society. The Soul King's dismembered body parts, including his soul fragments, became scattered across the realms, thus forming the origin of various powers within the Bleach world. This revelation reshapes our understanding of the series, and it casts the Soul Society and its founding families in a very morally ambiguous light, and it provides context for the motives of characters like Aizen and Yhwach. According to question 149 and 389 by Kubo on his official fan club Club Outside, as well as the Can't Fear Homeworld light novels, Senjumaru Shutara's accomplishment that gained her promotion into the Zero Division was the invention of the Shinigami Shihakusho. Question 548 from Club Outside reveals some fascinating information about Senjumaru and her life prior to joining the Zero Division. We learn about the existence of an unofficial research group before the establishment of the 12th Division's Research and Development Institute. This group had included Mairi Kurotsuchi, and it was led by Senjumaru Shutara. This explains the familiarity that they have when they speak following the first Quincy invasion, explaining why there is some animosity between the two of them. This insight into the past enriches the lore of the Soul Society, and it provides a foundation for fan theories about the nature of the kind of research that was being conducted by this unofficial research group and how it influenced the development of the Soul Society. In question 544 asked on Club Outside, we learned that Kilgei Oppi was a former combat instructor for the Sternritter, and some of the current Sternritter were among his students. This role massively enhances our understanding understanding of Kilge's character and his influence within the Wandenreich. His mastery of Ranso Tengai, a high-level Quincy technique allowing control of one's body like a puppet, highlights his experience and expertise and why he was selected to train the Sternritter. This insight from Kubo not only adds depth to Kilge's character, but also to the Wandenreich as a whole, painting them as a strategically trained and disciplined army rather than a mere assembly of powerful individuals like Aizen's Espada. This revelation about Kilge's role as an instructor opens up intriguing possibilities about the training and hierarchy within the Wandenreich. Fans have even theorized that Kilge survived the original battle against the Gotei 13 and had helped Yhwach to rebuild his army over the course of 1,000 years. In a very unique crossover, Bleach recently collaborated with Sanrio, the company behind Hello Kitty. This was for a new line of limited edition merchandise which blends the iconic style of both franchises. The Bleach characters were paired off with different Sanrio characters like Cinnamoroll getting Grimmjow's hollow mask or Hello Kitty wearing Ichigo's clothing. The collaboration was done to commemorate the 1000-year Blood War arc anime releasing, with the merchandise being sold at a Tokyo pop-up store from the 9th of June to the 22nd of June 2023, and they were also available online from August 2023. Earlier we spoke about the English translated Bleach databooks, but there were 2 additional databooks that were not released in English. The first is Bleach Official Character Book 3 Unmasked, which was released in Japan on the 3rd of June 2011. This databook covers the second half of the Arrancar arc, featuring character profiles, explaining the events of the manga and providing additional context like a short chapter covering Ukiura's backstory and a short story about Haribel called Nestle Tonight. The final databook called 13 Blades was made to commemorate the 13th anniversary of Bleach, and it released on the 4th of August 2015. This 4th databook includes an interview with Kubo, results from popularity polls, information on Bleach Brave Souls, and it also included a short story called Beginning of Revive of Tomorrow, as well as a special manga chapter which I spoke about earlier in the video titled Chapter 520.5 Walk Under 2 Letters. These databooks share some fascinating details with fans as they include information that helps us scale the power of characters as well as providing new insights via the short stories that are included within them. It is honestly a shame that these databooks have still not been released in English, as most fans don't know about the information that's included within them. Nestle Tonight is a short story by Makoto Matsubara. It reveals the events that unfold following Ichigo's victory over Aizen at the end of the Arrancar arc. We see that peace has returned to Hueco and Tia Haribel and her Fraction grapple with the new reality of their world. The story contrasts their return to Hueco marked by the ruins of Las Noches and the looming threat of new conflicts, with the story of the hollow dog Kukapuro, who is mourning the loss of its protector Yami. Meanwhile, in the human world, Ichigo's friends confront the harsh truth of him losing his Shinigami powers after his battle with Aizen. The narrative weaves together themes of loss, leadership, and the quest for peace, as Haribel rejects the idea of her becoming the new ruler of Hueco. This story captures the aftermath of war and the emotions felt by the characters, offering us a deep look into the lore of Bleach. Beginning of the Revive of Tomorrow is a short story by the writer of Can't Be Your Own World, Ryogo Narita. It takes place during the second Quincy invasion of the Wandenreich, and it involves the Sternritter Shaz Domino's search for the Hokyoku, as he is confronted by a revived Izuru Kira. Nayura Amakado, a young noblewoman who is the highest ranking member of the Central 46's 40 Sages, is central to this plot. She questions the authority of the Central 46 after realizing their flaws and the destruction that has been caused by the Quincy. Beginning of the Revive of Tomorrow delves into the challenges faced by Kira and Hisagi as we learn about the questionable decisions of the Central 46, including how they handled the Vizards over 100 years ago, and how they respond to Mayuri's sickening actions. Nayura Amakado's interactions with Kira reveal her desire to understand the duties of the Shinigami beyond just their official reports. The story leads to Kira rescuing Nayura from Shaz Domino as he showcases his newfound resolve after he was revived by Mayuri. Meanwhile, Nayura is inspired by Kira as she resolves to reform the Central 46 and prove that she was worthy of being saved. Let's delve into another Bleach light novel which has not been translated into English. This one is called Spirits Are Forever With You. Spirits Are Forever With You is a 2-part novel series by Ryogo Narita with artwork by Tite Kubo, and both volumes were released on the 4th of June 2012. The novels tell us a story that had unfolded during the 17 months between the end of the Arrancar arc to the beginning of the Fullbring arc. The story begins with Don Kanonji attempting to save the Soul Society, as we then learn about individuals like the 8th Kinpachi Soya Azashiro, who was imprisoned for treason, as well as the Spider Arrancar Roka Paramiya. Spirits Are Forever With You links these characters with individuals like Kinpachi Zaraki and even Aizen, who is imprisoned within Muken alongside Azashiro. This novel also explores the creation of Cien Granz, a clone of Xylopero, who ends up fighting against Kinpachi Zaraki. Despite fans questioning the canonicity of Spirits Are Forever With You, Kubo's involvement with the novel gives it a lot of legitimacy. This light novel series also reveals some fascinating details about Xylopero. The sadistic scientist has a complex history, as he was the original zero-ranking Espada. Hundreds of years before Aizen defected from the Soul Society, Xylopero was a human alchemist working for a certain nation, and his older brother Yilfert Granz was a general in the nation's army. The two brothers worked together, with Yilfert providing prisoners for his brother to experiment on. After the prisoners ended up dying, they became hollows, and they killed both Xylopero and Yilfert as revenge. After dying, Xylopero forced himself to become a hollow, and he had devoured his brother. Eventually, he evolved into a high-ranking Vastolore class hollow, becoming a part of Bargan's army. This was until Aizen took over Hueco Mundo, and under Aizen, he was enlisted as the original zero-ranking Espada. Xylopero realized that his instincts for violence were holding him back from reaching his full potential as a scientist, so he separated these violent urges from himself into the soul of his brother Yilfert. Xylopero ended up regressing into an Adhuchas class hollow, as he was then demoted to a Priveron Espada, but after developing his Arrancar powers like Gabriel, he was promoted to the 8th ranking Espada. Soya Azashiro, the 8th Kinpachi and former captain of the 11th Division, is a central figure in the Spirits Are Forever With You novel series. He is known for his overwhelming power, with Azashiro's Bankai possessing the unique ability to merge with anything containing Reishi, rendering him nearly omnipresent and immune to the effects of Aizen's Kyokasuigetsu. His backstory reveals a noble heritage and a controversial plan to transform Rukongai criminals into obedient soldiers through psychosurgery, a practice that led to his imprisonment within Muken. Azashiro's Zanpakuto, with its extraordinary abilities like producing blades from the air and fusing with living bodies, makes him a formidable opponent. Despite his power, he surrenders when faced with intervention from the Zero Division. Kinpachi Kuriyashiki, the 7th Kinpachi and former captain of Squad 11, featured in Spirits Are Forever With You. He was a well-respected, friendly and outgoing Shinigami, known for his close friendships with captains Shunsui and Ukitake. He was extremely powerful, and he had a Bankai so broken that it was banned by the Soul Society. Kuriyashiki was humble, and he had refused a promotion to the Zero Division because he was laid back in his nature, and he also believed that he needed to be accessible in case anyone had wanted to challenge him for his title of Kinpachi. His time as Kinpachi ended tragically when he was killed by his successor Soya Azashiro during a duel. Kuriyashiki's final moments were marked by his refusal to use his Bankai because of the risk of collateral damage. He didn't want any of his subordinates who were nearby to get hurt. This decision had cost him his life, but had demonstrated his deep sense of responsibility and honor. His legacy as a Kinpachi was defined by both his strength and his compassionate leadership. The 10th Kinpachi, Kinpachi Kiganjo, was first mentioned within chapter 146 when we learned that Kinpachi Zaraki had killed him in front of 200 members of the 11th Division. He is remembered for his distinctively lazy personality, as even Shinji remarks that he has a habit of missing captain's meetings during the Turn Back the Pendulum arc. Kiganjo, a large man with a dark complexion and spiked piercings, had an overall rugged appearance, and he had ascended to his position by defeating the 9th Kinpachi, thus adhering to the brutal tradition of the 11th Division. Despite his formidable position, his peers often criticized him, with Love Aikawa pointing out that Kiganjo being a captain cannot be helped due to the unique way that captains of the 11th Division are assigned. As a captain, Kiganjo possessed significant spiritual power, and he was a master swordsman. Despite this, he was outmatched by Kinpachi Zaraki's instinctive brute force. So we can establish that the title of Kinpachi is given to the strongest Shinigami, and there have been 11 holders of the Kinpachi title. There can only be one Kinpachi per generation, meaning that the previous holder of the title must die if there is a successor. Yachiru Unohana was the first Kinpachi and the founding captain of the 11th Division. Following this, from Spirits Are Forever With You, we learn about the 7th holder of the title, Kinpachi Kuriyashiki, followed by the 8th Soya Azashiro. After Azashiro was imprisoned within Muken, the 11th Division lieutenant at the time became the 9th Kinpachi so that the tradition would remain alive. The next successor was Kinpachi Kiganjo, who was then followed by the latest 11th holder of the title, Kinpachi Zaraki. The end of the very first volume of Can't Fear Your Own World reveals the first time that Aizen had met Tozen. In subsequent volumes, we learn about the reasoning behind why Aizen kills Tozen during the Arrancar arc. Initially, we had thought that this was a cruel act, but Can't Fear Your Own World reveals that Aizen was in fact fulfilling a promise that he had made with Tozen. He had requested Aizen to end his life should he ever find peace in the world of the Shinigami, a world that he fundamentally opposed. This request had stemmed from Tozen's desire to uphold his own justice and to avoid betraying the memory of his friend Kakyo, who was murdered by her husband Tokinada. Aizen, respecting Tozen's wishes and acknowledging the depth of their bond, agreed to this pact. Tozen's death, therefore, is not an act of Aizen betraying his subordinate, but it's a tragic result of Tozen's unwavering principles combined with Aizen's respect for his closest ally. Within Bleach chapter 356 of the manga, we learn that each of the Espada have an aspect of death. Not every Espada's aspect of death has been revealed within the manga. However, we do learn about a couple of aspects of death from other sources. Luffy, who had taken over Grimjow's rank as the 6th Espada, is revealed within Can't Fear Your Own World to have the same aspect of death as Grimjow, which is destruction. Neliel was another character whose aspect of death remained a mystery to us until Bleach Brave Souls revealed that her aspect of death is lamentation. This was included within the alternate rebirth sub-story which was written by Ryogo Narita for the game. Lamentation seems to fit well with Neliel's character, with her desire to avoid unnecessary conflict which results in death and suffering. She dislikes Noitara for his excessive violence and she refuses to kill him, which hints at her desire to prevent needless death so that she can avoid the pain of loss, because she feels deep levels of grief following the loss of a life. Her appearance in the 1000-Year Blood War arc highlights how she doesn't engage in battle but instead focuses on saving others. Can't Fear Your Own World also reveals that the Privarone Espada Dodoni was the former 3rd ranking Espada before he was succeeded by Neliel. While he was the 103rd ranking Privarone Espada, this hints at the 3rd digit in the Privarone ranking being their former Espada rank. So the 105th Privarone Espada Cirucci was the former 5th Espada, and Gantembine was the 107th Privarone Espada, meaning he was the former 7th ranking Espada, and the clone of Xylaparo before he split himself, called Cien Grands, is the 100th Privarone Espada, meaning that he is the former 0 ranking Espada. During a 2013 panel in Germany, Kubo revealed how he includes languages into his series, associating specific languages with different groups to reflect their characteristics. Like I mentioned earlier, he chose Spanish for the Arrancars, capturing their passionate and untamed nature, and German for the Quincy's, mirroring their methodical and straightforward demeanor. Fascinatingly, Kubo also expressed a desire to introduce French into the story, as he loves the language for its elegance. This statement has led fans to speculate that French might be the language of a new group potentially associated with the Hell Arc, drawing parallels with the Italian epic Dante's Inferno. This theory is supported by Kubo assigning English to the Fullbringers, which demonstrates his constant use of language as a thematic tool within Bleach. The mod soul Kon, who inhabits a stuffed lion, appears frequently as a gag character at the start of Bleach. His design has inconsistencies in terms of the number of spikes in his mane. Kon is typically depicted with 9 spikes, but some of Kubo's initial drawings have shown him with as many as 11 spikes. Kon's overall design remains iconic in the series, as he is recognized as the official mascot of Bleach. The Mod Soul Massacre is a sinister event from the Soul Society's history. This was where modified souls were created as part of Project Spearhead in an attempt to bridge the power gap between Shinigami and Hollows. These artificially engineered souls, each with unique abilities like enhanced speed or strength, were designed to inhabit human corpses and fight Hollows. However, ethical concerns about using reanimated corpses as soldiers led to the abrupt termination of the project and the subsequent extermination of the Mod Souls. The Soul Society completely disregarded the fact that the mod souls are sentient beings. Kon, a mod soul with enhanced leg strength, had accidentally ended up in Ichigo's possession and had become the sole survivor of this genocide. Originally intended for disposal, Kon was instead kept by Rukia and Ichigo, who placed him in a lion plushie, allowing him to exist as the sole survivor of his kind. A detail that fans often overlook is that Kukaku Shiba's right arm is missing in the manga, while in the anime they depict her wearing a prosthetic arm. We never learn how she had lost her arm, but some fan theories speculate that it may have been an accident involving explosives or fireworks. Fans have also joked around by parodying Full Metal Alchemist by suggesting that Kukaku and Ganju did an alchemy experiment in an attempt to revive Kaien, but it had resulted in Kukaku losing her arm and Ganju losing his brain. Unless someone asks Kubo on Club Outside, the mystery of Kukaku's missing arm may remain unsolved. Urahara was revealed to be a former captain of the Gotei 13 a lot sooner than fans may think. In chapter 87, which was adapted into episode 27, Ikaku asks Ichigo who trained him, as he reveals it was Kisuke Urahara. We then get a glimpse of Ikaku recalling Urahara wearing a captain's coat. Later, Yoriichi reveals what division Urahara led, as she tells Ichigo following his first day of Bankai training in chapter 130, which was adapted into episode 47 of the anime. She tells him that Urahara was the former captain of the 12th division. Not much is known about the origins of Ururu and Jinta, who are often seen in the series at Urahara shop. However, within the Can't Feel Unworld light novels, Urahara reveals to Hisagi that both Ururu and Jinta are artificial souls residing inside artificial bodies. This explains Ururu's extraordinary physical strength and her unique kill mode, as these are things that no ordinary human should be able to do. Kubo later confirmed this to be the case on his fan club Club Outside when he had answered question 135, where a fan had asked him about the origins of Ururu and Jinta, as Kubo confirms that they are both mod souls that are being created by Urahara. We are going deeper as we enter the 5th layer of the iceberg, beginning our descent into the dark, cold waters, uncovering more mysteries and hidden secrets about Bleach. You'll be glad to know that I'm going to continue revealing details about untranslated Bleach material, along with even more bizarre pieces of information. So without further delay, let's dive deeper. The Quincy Cross symbolizes the evolution of the Quincy and their changing ideology, with the design of the cross undergoing significant changes over time. Initially, during Yhwach's Empire of Light era 1000 years ago, the Quincy Cross was a simple 3-pointed star. This symbolizes unity and the foundation of the Quincy Empire. In the traditional Quincy era, which is represented by Soken Ishida, the 4-pointed Quincy Cross, which is similar to a Christian cross, represented Uryu's upbringing, how he was raised on traditional Quincy teachings. This design was evident within Uryu's early attire, including the distinctive emblem on the back of his jacket. In the modern Wandenreich era, the cross transformed into a more aggressive 5-pointed star, incorporating pentagram elements indicating a shift towards more military and occult influences. The elite Wandenreich members making up the Schutzstaffel further evolved the Quincy cross symbol into a 6-pointed cross, which is inspired from the Hagal rune. For some reason, Giselle placed the 6-pointed cross on her zombies as we see on zombified Hitsugaya's uniform. The 1000-Year Blood War arc is a lot darker in tone, and there are a couple of instances within the arc of implied sexual assault. The first is from the absolute sex pest Giselle, who takes advantage of a fully paralyzed Bambietta after she is defeated by Komamura. Giselle not only transforms her into a zombie, but it is implied that she inappropriately abuses her during the battle against Mayuri. Another instance is when it is implied during a flashback that Hashwald's creepy uncle, who refers to him as sweet little Yugo, abuses him. Bambietta Bastaband's character appears to draw inspiration from the Nazi-sploitation subgenre of exploitation films. This is evident from her actions in chapter 544 of the manga, during a controversial scene where she kills a male Quincy who fails to satisfy her. Nazi-sploitation films are characterized by its portrayal of Nazis committing sexual crimes during World War II. These movies typically feature dominant, sadistic characters deriving pleasure from their victims' suffering. Bambietta embodies these traits as she lures a male subordinate for special relief, only for then to kill him post-encounter. This of course mirrors the actions of Ilsa in the influential film Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Ilsa is a hypersexual Nazi officer, as she selects male prisoners for relief and then disposes of them, which is a massive parallel to Bambietta's behavior. While Bleach is a mainstream shonen series and it doesn't explicitly explore the full extent of the violent and sexual themes of Nazi-exploitation, Kubo's inclusion of these elements suggests a broader range of influences that have inspired him while writing Bleach. Bambietta's character, while rooted in this controversial genre, is adapted to fit within the boundaries of Bleach's audience and genre, and I'm just impressed that Kubo is able to draw inspiration from a diverse range of sources as well as historical pieces of media. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that there are several unlicensed Bleach mobile games. Every popular series seems to spawn a plethora of cringeworthy bootleg apps, created by people who have never seen or read the series that they are ripping off. One such bootleg Bleach game is titled Bleach Infinite Brawl, a game that was heavily advertised on TikTok. I mean, have a look at some of these ridiculous ads which often feature characters like Rangiku, Hitsugaya, and Aizen, but their names are inconsistent. Sometimes they are called by their name in the series or by a totally different name, like when they say Kian in conversation, but we have no idea who is called Kian in the scene, as it's used to refer to Aizen, then Rangiku, and even Ichigo. The ads for the games involve the characters getting into some bizarre, scandalous situations, accompanied by non-canon elements like Ichigo and Aizen having grown up together as best buddies. One ad involves Rangiku leaving Ichigo for Aizen, who has a higher level in the game. Bear in mind, this is all fully voice acted too, and it's done in the most funniest manner.
Cut the crap, Kian!
If you really feel like punishing yourself today, then you can find these ads on the Bleach Reddit. Within the author notes of Bleach Volume 73, Kubo reveals that each of the Schutzstaffel members embodies a different era of warfare. He enlists the 4 eras as ancient, medieval, modern, and current. The design and fighting style of the Schutzstaffel reflects what era of warfare that they represent, because Kubo didn't really go into the specifics of it all and explain what era is suited to what Schutzstaffel member, but we can deduce that Pernida embodies ancient warfare, as he fights with primal hand-to-hand combat tactics. Gerard with his sword and shield represents medieval warfare, reminiscent of Viking raids. Lil Barrow, dressed in a manner akin to a French soldier from the Napoleonic Wars, symbolizes modern warfare, as his name and attire further supports this connection to the French, while Askin Naklevar represents current contemporary warfare via his abilities, which are akin to chemical weapons. This diverse representation of warfare eras expands upon the background of these characters, and it reveals how Kubo weaves complex motifs and themes into his story. The Espada's hollow holes are more than just a design feature of their characters. The hollow holes symbolize the unfulfilled desires or regrets of the Espada from their lives as humans. The location of their hollow holes allows us to theorize details about their past, like Neutra's hollow hole being located in place of his eye, which may mean that he was blind to the pain of others, so he lacked empathy and had a life filled with disdain for others. Haribel's hollow hole is located where her womb would be, which links it to motherhood, possibly symbolizing a tragic loss related to childbirth. Grimjow's hollow hole is located in his intestine, which may symbolize his regret for not following his gut instinct, which may have warned him about something that he had ignored. It is fun to think and theorize about what regret or unfulfilled desire these hollow holes represent from back when the Espada were humans. Bleach, The Death Save the Strawberry is a Japanese exclusive light novel which released on the 27th of December 2016. It was written by Makoto Matsubara, who, if you remember, wrote Nestle Tonight and some other Bleach spin-off stories. The name of the book is in reference to Rukia Saves Ichigo, with the death referring to Rukia and the strawberry in reference to Ichigo. The novel delves into the events during the 17-month timescale skip between Aizen's defeat all the way up until Ichigo regaining his Shinigami powers, so it's set during Ichigo's second year at Karakura High School. The novel explores the lives of the Bleach characters returning to their daily lives after the Arrancar arc. We learn that Orihime visits her brother's grave in order to keep him informed about her daily life, and Uryu fills in for Ichigo by protecting Karakura town from hollows. There appears to be some notable changes as we see how everyone is adjusting to them. The narrative also reveals how the Vizards and Urahara were pardoned for their alleged crimes from 100 years ago in the Soul Society. The story intricately weaves through the lives of various characters, from Rukia preparing to be appointed as the lieutenant of Squad 13, to Shinji Hirako reacquiring his role as the captain of the 5th Division, and his interactions with Momo Hinamori, who struggles with having a new captain because of a bad experience with Aizen. The novel ends with Rukia determined to restore Ichigo's powers as everyone works together in an effort to achieve this as a token of gratitude for everything that Ichigo has done for them. There is a huge collaborative effort between the Soul Society and the human world, as several notable figures pour their Reiatsu into the sword which will be used to empower Ichigo. Unfortunately, this story is largely unknown to the wider Bleach community due to the novel's limited release and lack of translation, but it does offer us a deeper insight into the Bleach universe, helping us to fill in some much needed context for events that unfolded before and during the critical Fullbring arc. Question 347 asked on Kubo's official fan club reveals a new detail about the naming of Hashwald and Bazb's shrifts. The letter of their shrifts symbolize their profound friendship. Kubo intentionally assigned their shrifts as H for Bazb and B for Hashwald, with each letter reflecting the initial of the other's name. This subtle detail, Bazb's the heat and Hashwald's the balance, cleverly references their friendship and their past history. Paint Jump Art of Bleach released in April 2008, and it offers a unique experience for fans and artists alike. This Japanese coloring book not only features a collection of line illustrations from the series, but also serves as a guide to modern coloring techniques. Tite Kubo, the creator of Bleach, personally contributes a 6-page tutorial on his approach to coloring the series, as he provides valuable insights into his artistic process. The book includes 12 pages of fully colored examples, followed by 37 line illustrations for aspiring colorists to practice the techniques that are demonstrated. While the book is rich in content and artistic guidance, it remains exclusive to only Japan, limiting its accessibility to broader international audiences. This exclusivity has made Paint Jump Art of Bleach a cherished item amongst fans. In September 2023, Viz did release a Bleach the official anime coloring book, which has 80 pages of line art from the anime, but this unfortunately doesn't contain the information and insights of Paint Jump, which focuses on the manga and has Kubo's involvement. Ichibe Hyosobe is introduced as the leader of the Zero Division, but we learn sinister details about him via the Can't Feel On-World light novels. It seems that Ichibe had planned to use Ichigo as the new Soul King. This was his backup plan in case Yhwach ended up killing the existing Soul King. Ichibe's plan is a terrifying fate for Ichigo, turning him into a linchpin of reality, a process that involves sealing and potentially mutilating him while he is still conscious. Ultimately, Yhwach, after being defeated by Ichigo, was used as the new Soul King, sparing Ichigo from such a fate. Ichibe's actions and plans highlight the morally ambiguous nature of his character, as he is driven by his duty to maintain the balance of souls, and for this goal he is willing to sacrifice individuals like Ichigo for the greater good. The Beast Realm was introduced to us via Komamura's great-grandfather in chapter 556, when he explains how his clan were exiled to this realm as a punishment for their sins. Komamura's great-grandfather reveals that their Wolfman family were originally human souls within the Soul Society, but they were transformed into beast men and they were banished to the Beast Realm. This realm, initially a place of exile, becomes a part of their identity, with members like Komamura later returning to the Soul Society. In the original original Japanese text, the Beast Realm is referred to as Territory of the Beast, suggesting a physical location rather than a metaphysical state of being, thus making the Beast Realm a unique separate dimension that is yet to be explored within Bleach. Within the Bleach 13 Blades databook, Kubo revealed a shocking truth that the original villain or mastermind of the Soul Society arc was going to be Hanataro. Kubo quite rightly thought that Hanataro wouldn't be able to pull off a villain reveal plot twist well enough, so in the later stages of the Soul Society arc, he decided to swap out the villain to Aizen. I mean, can you imagine Hanataro stopping Ichigo's theme song? Yeah, neither can I. Within the manga, Hado 90 Kurohitsugi was used by Aizen for the first time within chapter 176 against Komamura. This is a high-level, devastating Kido spell thought to have only been known by Aizen as one of his signature moves. However, within the Nintendo DS game Bleach the Third Phantom, Kurohitsugi can also be used by Momo Hinamori, Aizen's former lieutenant, and Hiyori Sarugaki. Hiyori's mastery of Kurohitsugi is particularly unexpected because we know she isn't really that good with using Kido. There have been theories that Rangiku may have exhibited full-brink powers if she was a human, or she may have been able to awaken a powerful Bankai if she didn't lose the Soul King fragment from her body. Within Can't Feel Your Own World, we learn that all Fullbringers possess fragments of the Soul King. Aizen took interest in Rangiku's soul because it reacted strongly to the Hokyoku. The nail is something which is found within the mothers of Fullbringers. Rangiku also has the nail within her soul. This nail is pretty much a fragment of the Soul King, as it acts as a catalyst for new power. While Aizen's Hokyoku was fed the Soul King fragment from Rangiku, fans do speculate where Urahara sourced the Soul King fragment from for his own Hokyoku. If we assume that a potential Soul King needs to have power from all of the three worlds, then Ginjo Kugo can definitely be considered to be a Soul King candidate. This is because of his unique combination of powers. He was born as a human who inherited hollow powers and then awakened Shinigami powers when he became a substitute Shinigami. Now, in terms of his Quincy powers, there is some debate about where he acquired these from, because a Soul King candidate needs to have all aspects of power within them. Fans have speculated that Ginjo acquired a trace amount of Quincy Reishi when he stole Ichigo's powers. If this is the case, then he is a perfect candidate to be considered as the next Soul King. This may explain why the Soul Society were interested in having Ginjo's body at the very end of the Fullbring arc. The theme of shattering or defying fate is intrinsically linked to Ichigo's character. Ichigo consistently overcomes seemingly insurmountable odds, challenging the very notion of predetermined destiny. We see this during Ichigo's confrontations with formidable opponents like Byakuya, Ukiura, Aizen, and Yhwach, which showcase his ability to resist and alter fate. Particularly notable is his battle against Yhwach, the embodiment of predetermined fate with his almighty Shrift ability, as this allows him to foresee and manipulate future events. For this reason, fans have theorized that the power of Ichigo's true Bankai is the ability to wield a blade that is capable of shattering fate. This is foreshadowed within Chapter 0, where Ichigo's desire for strength to protect and defy fate is expressed through a touching poem. His wish is symbolically fulfilled with his Zanpakuto Zangetsu, which allows him to intervene in situations that once seemed inevitable, such as protecting his family from hollows. The culmination of this theme is evident in Yhwach's defeat, where Ichigo activates his Bankai and is seen to be wielding his original Shikai Zanpakuto. Once again, this symbolically represents the blade that Ichigo used when he first awakened his own Shinigami powers, which he had used in order to defy fate by rescuing Rukia during the Soul Society arc. Ichigo went from being powerless to becoming a force capable of challenging destiny itself. Could defying fate be the true power of Ichigo's Bankai? In a surprising twist during the 2023 RICO trial of rapper Young Thug, attorney Angela D. Williams, who represents the YSL gang member Lil Rod, had drawn a bizarre parallel between her client to the infamous Bount filler arc characters from the Bleach anime. In her opening statement streamed by the Law and Crime Network on YouTube, D. Williams likened Lil Rod to a filler character from Bleach who appears in seasons 4 and 5, suggesting that like the Bounts, he was not integral to the main storyline of the trial. This unusual legal strategy quickly went viral, sparking a flurry of memes and reactions across social social media. Users were imagining Young Thug's reaction to the Bleach reference, and they speculated on D. Williams' feelings post-reference. The clip, which garnered significant views and likes, led to a lot of interest in one of the worst anime filler arcs, the Bound arc, a filler story that fans would have liked to forget had ever happened.
This reminds me of this anime named Bleach. They have these Bounts. They're the villains of the whole thing. You go to season 6, you don't hear about the Bounts because they're filler characters. It's a filler season.
This just solidifies Bleach as a pop culture icon, with it being brought up during legal proceedings. This was honestly so unexpected as it happened while I was writing the Bleach Iceberg, and I'm glad that this meme just happened in time to be included within the video. We have officially reached the beginning of the end as we enter the depths of the Bleachberg. This layer deals with more than just untranslated books and lesser known pieces of trivia. We are delving into the real world impact of Bleach, discussing the controversies about the series, details about fans going insane, and the obscure music releases of Bleach that were not released outside of Japan. So get ready as we get comfortable in the pitch black as we enter the depths. Rock musical Bleach is a series of several rock musicals based on Kubo's manga Bleach, with each musical running for about 130 minutes. There have been 8 rock musical adaptations of Bleach, each one exploring different aspects of the series, but they all primarily follow the events of the Soul Society arc. The original rock music Bleach released in Tokyo, Japan between the 17th to the 28th of August 2005. Subsequent musical productions called Cyan, Dark of the Bleeding Moon, No Clouds in the Blue Heavens, and The All expand upon the story by introducing new characters and plot reveals. These series of musicals were also accompanied by a live Bankai show which was performed across Japan. These live shows featured original scripts that don't follow the story of the manga. Rock musical Bleach has sold over 130,000 tickets since its inception in 2005. Despite being very popular, rock music Bleach was not released internationally, unlike Death Note musical, which was performed in Korea and London. If you are interested, there are recordings of the performances on YouTube with English subtitles if you're interested in seeing how the Bleach manga was brought to life on the theatre stage. If I were to ask you how many chapters are there within the 74 collected manga volumes of Bleach, you would probably say 686 chapters, but this isn't correct. We spoke about the minus chapters earlier in this video, so let's add up all of the minus and bonus chapters that appear within the manga volumes. The Turn Back the Pendulum arc begins with chapter minus 108 and it runs until chapter minus 97, which is a total of 12 chapters. These are included within volume 36 and 37 of the manga. We then have chapter minus 17, Prelude to the Straying Stars, which is included at the end of volume 15. Chapter minus 16, Dying in the Ice Fields, is included at the end of volume 32. Chapter minus 12.5, Blooming Under a Cold Moon, is included at the start of volume 20. Chapter 0.9, A Wonderful Error, is included at the end of volume 12. Chapter 0, Side A and Side B are placed at the end of volume 23. Chapter 88.5, Karakura Superheroes, is included at the end of volume 10. Chapter 260.5, Bleach on the Beach, is placed at the end of volume 29. And lastly, chapter 520.5, Walk Under Two Letters, is included at the very end of volume 70. So this is a total of 20 additional chapters which are included within the collected volumes of Bleach, which brings the total chapter count to 706 chapters. And this isn't even counting the other chapters and omake that Kubo has created for special events and data books. The Shinken Hakyoken, or the 8 Mirror Sword, is a weapon belonging to the Issei clan. It has the ability to take the power of a god and split it into 8 directions. Whatever power clashes against the sword will be reflected back to the opponent. This incredible weapon has sparked theories amongst fans that this sword played a part in the dismemberment of the Soul King's body. The theory suggests that when the Soul King used his power to split reality into 3 realms, the Shinken Hakyoken may have reflected some of that power back at him, resulting in him being dismembered. Fans have also speculated that the mutilation of the Soul King is the reason behind the Issei clan clan curse, where male members die early. While the history behind the Shinken Hakkyoken and the Issei clan curse remains a secret, these theories present some fascinating insights which invite us to speculate further. When Bleach chapter 609 was first released, there was a huge translation error which disrupted Ichibe's intense battle against Yhwach. The original text intended to convey that Ichibe had transformed Yhwach into a black ant. This emphasizes his diminished state and his vulnerability. However, the fan translations had mistakenly translated this as Ichibe calling Yhwach a black. So here is the full sentence: "And just like a black you will die." This was supposed to be "and be crushed to death like the black ant that you are." This mistranslation drastically altered the intended meaning, inadvertently giving Ichibe's dialogue racially insensitive connotations. Back when the chapters of the 1000-Year Blood War arc were first being released, fans didn't know the name of Yhwach, so they temporarily named him Buckbeard, inspired by the title of chapter 484, The Buckbeard, which is the very first chapter that Yhwach appears within. When his name was revealed, his nickname was evolved to Buckbeard. Due to the differences in how the name is pronounced within Japanese and English, fans have also come up with the creative name Yuha Baha Blast, named after the once infamous Taco Bell exclusive Mountain Dew Baja Blast flavor. On a side note, if you want to know more about this exclusive Mountain Dew flavor, then check out a YouTube video called Operation Baja Blast. Bleach We Do Not Always Love You released on the 27th of December 2016. Once again, it is a light novel that is authored by Makoto Matsubara with sketches of some events drawn by Tatkubo. This light novel delves into the reconstruction efforts of the Soul Society following the defeat of Yhwach. We are also shown the growth of Rukia and Renji's relationship, and the novel begins with a captain's meeting within the Gotei 13 taking place 3 years after the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, as there is quick progress being made to reconstruct the Serete. An announcement is then made about the upcoming marriage of Rukia and Renji, with the Shinigami gathering to celebrate this momentous occasion. We Do Not Always Love You does a fantastic job of conveying the difficulty of organizing a wedding amidst the restoration of the Serete. Rukia and Renji's wedding is further complicated by all of the traditional practices of the Soul Society, which are further amplified by the involvement of the noble Kuchiki clan. The novels also touch upon the future responsibility of Rukia ascending to the captain rank, as we learn that Ukitake had appointed her as his successor. The novel ends with a brief glimpse into Ichigo's personal life as we see him build up the courage to confess his feelings to Orihime. This rare insight into the personal lives of our characters is invaluable, and I highly recommend that fans check out the fan translations of this novel. I mean, it's been 7 years since it was released, but Viz is too busy releasing Bleach coloring books rather than translating these highly requested light novels and data books. Within Bleach, Reishi is a foundational element for all spiritual realms and beings, from souls to hollows to the Soul Society and Hueco Mundo. In the Soul Society, the bodies and clothing of souls that pass away disintegrate and merge with the Reishi of the realm. Within the real world, there is such a thing as Reishi mushrooms, a fungus that is native to Eastern Asia. It has a reddish-brown color and it is used in traditional Chinese medicine. Despite its name, it doesn't unfortunately enhance spiritual pressure, but it is believed to boost the immune system and lower cholesterol. It is often consumed in tea, with Bleach fans posting pictures of Reishi tea joking about their spiritual pressure increasing. Baragon from Bleach may have been the inspiration for Gravelord Nito from Dark Souls. The two characters exhibit some striking similarities that back up this claim. Baragon, the second ranking Espada, was the former ruler of Hueco Mundo. He shares the theme of death and decay with Nito, who holds the title of the First of the Dead. Both characters have a skeletal appearance, with Baragon wearing a crown-like hollow mask and a regal attire with his fur-lined cloak, which is similar to Nito, who wears a tattered cloak made of bones and dead matter. Their powers are also similar, with Baragon being able to age anything that he touches, while Nito on the other hand unleashes a deadly odor representing the inevitability of death and disease. Both of the characters are written to be former powerful rulers now in their decline. Baragon's fall from being the king of Hueco Mundo parallels Nito retreating into the Tomb of Giants. They are both fallen royalty. The similarities between the two have led fans to believe that Bleach has in some way inspired elements of the popular Dark Souls games. Buddhist philosophy and symbolism symbolism are heavily linked to the narrative of Bleach and its character designs. Holos from Bleach mirror the Buddhist Preta or hungry ghosts which represent unfulfilled desires. Ichigo Zanpakuto Zangetsu has a manji symbol on the hilt of the sword. This is often mistaken for a swastika, but this symbol is a nod to Buddhism as the manji symbol represents balance and harmony. The Gotei 13's structure parallels the 12 Nidanas, with head captain Yamamoto embodying Yama, the Buddhist king of death. Villains like Aizen, who are depicted with third eyes in their transcended states, represent the Buddhist pursuit of enlightenment. This is similar to Raga Raja, who is also known as Aizen Myo, the deity who is known for transforming desires into spiritual awakening. Orihime's Fullbring features the hibiscus flower, which also is associated with the deity Kali. Offerings of red hibiscus flowers are made to Kali, and the deity is associated with time and change within Buddhism. Ichigo's ultimate technique Mugetsu also represents the concept of detachment, where immense power is granted at the cost of Ichigo's powers. Earlier in the video, I spoke about the symbolism present within the portrayal of reincarnation within Bleach. There are loads of Buddhist themes and symbolism within Bleach, and this is honestly just grazing over the surface of it all. This is a really bizarre one. Back in 2009, there was an American comic book series called Incarnate, which was created by Nick Simmons. This is the son of rock legend Gene Simmons, who of course was the co-lead singer of the iconic band Kiss. Incarnate, over its short 3-month run, ended up sparking massive controversy within the manga community. The comic series was accused of plagiarizing several elements from Tite Kubo's manga Bleach. Shamelessly, Nick Simmons copied complete character designs, lines of dialogue, fight scenes, and even specific manga panels from Bleach. This became such an issue that fans brought it to the attention of Viz Media, the American publisher of Bleach, who began to investigate these allegations. I mean, I don't know what needed to be investigated because the plagiarism was very blatant and shameless. Kubo even ended up speaking on the matter, saying that he was fascinated by how the son of Gene Simmons is a comic book artist, and he didn't seem to be too bothered by the claims of plagiarism. Radical Comics, the publisher of Incarnate, stopped the distribution and production of the comics in February 2010 in order to resolve the matter. Nick Simmons responded to the plagiarism allegations, stating that he wanted to pay homage to Kubo's manga, and he apologized for any offense that he may have caused to both artists and fans. The entire fiasco ended in 2011 when the New York Times reported that Radical Publishing was forced to stop the production of Incarnate following the allegations of plagiarism. I guess Shueisha or Viz Media put a stop to all of it in the end. I mean, what do all of you think? I, for one, cannot believe that Nick Simmons thought that this was an homage instead of a straight up ripoff. With all of the excitement about the New Breeds from Hell one-shot chapter and the possibility of an upcoming Hell story arc, fans have been speculating several theories about the realm of Hell, figuring out how Kubo may utilize the Dark Realm in the future. One such theory proposes that the current Hell within Bleach may be a corrupted version of Heaven or the state of Nirvana. This idea stems from how captains who die are sent to Hell due to their immense levels of Reiatsu, which cannot be absorbed back into the Soul Society due to being too dense. So in order to maintain the balance of the realms, the captains are sent to Hell via the Konso Reisei ritual. This raises questions about the true nature of Hell. We know that Hell existed before the Soul King had created life and death by separating reality into 3 realms. Hell is a different realm from the cycle of life and death, which is represented by Hueco Mundo, the human world, and the Soul Society. The Hell arc, beginning with the disruption of the world's balance, presents an opportunity to explore the consequences of the Shinigami's actions and the justifications behind the motives of characters like Aizen, Yhwach, and Ginjo, who opposed the Soul Society. Back in July 2017, a meme went viral when World Star reported that Brazilian police had seized a small knife from drug dealers. In 2019, the images of police confiscating Ichigo's original Shikai blade went viral again, but this time on Reddit. These images, initially believed to be from a drug raid, had stemmed from an unusual situation which occurred in Brazil back in April 2015. The truth is that the Brazilian police had in fact confiscated the Zangetsu replica from a Bleach cosplayer during a routine operation. The police had mistook the wooden cosplay sword for a real weapon. Thankfully, they released the cosplayer after realizing that it was a prop imitation weapon. Despite being a harmless wooden prop, the police still confiscated confiscated the sword because it could be potentially intimidating to others. The incident circulated on Facebook and was shared over 13,000 times. Commenters were jokingly praising the police for protecting them against fictional samurais. Bleach fans, on the other hand, made jokes about how Ichigo isn't making enough being a substitute Shinigami and he now has to sell drugs in order to keep a roof over his family's head. Some fans often get confused about the nature of the Bleach world, believing misconceptions like the Soul Society is heaven or souls in the Soul Society cannot die. There are also a lot of questions about the origin and nature of souls. Within Bleach, souls are called Konpaku. They exist within the Rukongai district of the Soul Society, and they also exist as spirits of deceased humans within the world of the living. While most souls originate from deceased humans, they can also be born within the Soul Society, an example of which is Rukia and Renji's daughter Ichika. In the primordial world, before it was separated into different realms, there was no distinction between living humans and souls. The concepts of death and reincarnation did not exist. The Soul King was a divine entity who appeared one day and protected the souls from being devoured from their opposing existence, the Hollows. The current system of the Soul Society is designed in order to maintain the balance of souls, to prevent the stagnation of reality, and to ensure the cycle of life and death continues. While this is not a perfect system, it is a manageable alternative to the chaos that existed during the times of the primordial Bleach world. I really hope that Kubo will explore more about the nature of reality, the sins of the Soul Society, and the cycle of life and death within the upcoming Hell arc of the manga. When the Bleach manga ended, there were a lot of unhappy people, not at the fact that there were unresolved plot points, but instead they were furious over the final romantic pairings of the series. Ichiruki fans were very dramatic with their reactions, as they were strongly opposed to Ichigo pairing with Orihime. They expressed their anger in a variety of different ways, like ripping up or burning their manga volumes, shredding DVDs, and burning images of Ichigo and Orihime in a furious fit of rage. This anger was fueled by their deep investment in a fictional pairing, which was supported by misinterpreting the characters and Kubo's intentions. A lot of Ichiruki fans were birthed from the anime, which did place subtle romantic undertones between Ichigo and Rukia during the first arc. There were also filler moments where people would ask Ichigo or Rukia if something was going on between them. The anime birthed a generation of misguided shippers who reacted in the most insane way when their expectations were not met. Even the English voice actors for Rukia and Ichigo have commented on this matter, with Johnny Young Bosch stating that he prefers Ichigo to be with Orihime because Rukia is an old dead chick and it's kinda gross to ship him with her. Nonetheless, this hasn't stopped all of the ship wars and fans incorrectly interpreting the potential romantic developments in the story. It is just crazy to me that these fans got so upset that they destroyed their own belongings. I mean, it's peak levels of insanity. If anyone needs to touch grass, then it's these crazy Ichiruki fans who even to this day are harassing voice actors and going after anyone who says anything to them. Bleach B Section was a podcast that was hosted by the Japanese voice actor for Ichigo, Masakazu Morita. It ran from April 2005 to December 2010, and each podcast had a different topic for discussion. It also featured different guests related to Bleach. Unfortunately, not all of the episodes of the podcast have been preserved, with around 8 episodes being lost to time. A user on the Bleach Reddit has shared their collection of recordings with us, and hopefully if you have the missing episodes you can let them know. A Spanish professor on TikTok who was explaining the concept of absolute zero to his students ended up using images of Bankai Rukia and Aznod as illustrations for his explanation. The professor explains how Rukia uses the absolute zero temperature of a Bankai in order to defeat Aznod. He does this by applying the principles of the scalar field theory and the Laplacian theory in order to explain how Rukia reached absolute zero temperature, a point where there is an absence of heat. It is a pretty unique way of incorporating elements of Bleach into his scientific teachings. In another post, he also calculates how strong Goku and Frieza's attack against Jiren was in Dragon Ball Super. In chapter 499 of Bleach, there is a slight error within the manga. Chad's left arm of the devil was incorrectly drawn onto his right arm. This is a rare instance of Kubo slipping up within the manga. Fans have been mispronouncing Tite Kubo's name for years, so the correct pronunciation in Japanese is Taito Kubo. In English, with the way it is romanized, it should be pronounced Tite Kubo, but people seem to really enjoy calling him Titty Kubo or or Tite Kubo, and they've called him this for so long, they even have the balls to correct people who say the correct pronunciation. You need to look no further than the comment section of my videos to see this. The Titi Kubo crowd are in denial, and honestly I think they need to stop sexualizing the man's name. Well done for making it this far into the video. We are almost there now. The bottom of the Bleach Berg is within sight. We are literally plunging beneath the bottom of the iceberg, well into the cold, dark waters. You can rest assured that we're so close to the end now. So let's get ready to get to the very bottom as we uncover the deep depths of the Bleach Berg. There is a theory that Aizen had already known about the return of the Quincy during the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Aizen is the master of all planners. He accounts for events that are impossible to predict. With all of his preparing, it is safe to assume that he was aware of the Kaiser Gesang, the Quincy Emperor's song. This prophesizes the return of the sealed Quincy King. Imagine if Aizen was successful and took the place of the Soul King. How would he react to Yhwach and his army appearing to challenge him? I think that it's safe to assume that the Quincy would struggle against a fully powered, transcended Aizen. While the 1000-Year Blood War arc was releasing, there was a prevalent theory that Soifon had died because of a lack of appearance within the story. I mean, after she defeated BG9, she was barely present within the story. Additionally, when zombified Hitsugaya is revealed, it reinforced the idea that she may have died. Of course, these theories about her dying were proven wrong by the end of the manga. As we are in the deep depths of the iceberg, I suppose it is okay to talk about some theories that come off as terrible fanfiction, like the theory that Ukitake is Hitsugaya's father. This idea proposes that because Ukitake babies Hitsugaya and gives him gifts and candy, despite them both being captain rank, it supposedly hints at Ukitake being his long-lost father somehow. Also, apparently they look alike too. Another wacky theory suggests that Gin and Rangiku may be Hitsugaya's parents. All I have to say is that I'm glad that Kubo is the one writing the story and not the fans. There is a prevalent theory that Shunsui slept with his Zanpakuto. Shunsui, Zanpakuto, Katen Kyokotsu are two different beings. Shunsui Zanpakuto wasn't originally a dual-wielded one. We learn that his original blade is Katen, whom he refers to as Ohana. This is who appears when Shunsui activates his Bankai. On the other hand, Kyokotsu is the younger, less experienced Zanpakuto spirit. Apparently, she was birthed by Ohana for the purpose of hiding the Issei family sword. We don't know if Ohana created the Zanpakuto through a unique method, or if like humans, Ohana had an intimate encounter with Shunsui in order to give birth to Kyokotsu. When Nimaya lectured Ichigo about the treatment of a Zanpakuto, he implied that a Shinigami and their Zanpakuto could be lovers. I think that Katen was able to create another Zanpakuto as an ability. This is because Kyokotsu has a specific personality which is designed for her role to hide the Issei family sword. Early in the series, we learned that Rukia and her older sister Hisana died together in the human world, and they were sent to the same part of the Soul Society, the 78th district of Rukongai, called Inuzuri. Hisana ended up abandoning Rukia after she struggled to survive and care for her baby sister. When she married Byakuya, she spent every day of her life looking for her sister. She regretted her decision to abandon her. Hisane ended up dying 5 years after her marriage, but she made Byakuya promise on her deathbed that he would find and protect Rukia. Ichibei is as old as the Soul King before he was mutilated. This means that he is older than the Soul Society, which we know has a 1 million year history. Ichibei's role in the story is often questioned, with his motives and actions being highly suspicious. Despite the Soul King being in a vegetative state, Ichibei claims to be able to communicate with him, leading to a lot of speculation about his true intentions. Within Can't For Your Own World, we learn about the role that Ichibei played in assisting the ancestors of the 5 great noble families in their plot to capture and mutilate the Soul King. Ichibei's loyalty lies to the ancestors of the 5 great noble families and not the Soul King. In the story, he is a central figure who is dubbed as the leader of the Shinigami. It will be interesting to learn more about Ichibei and if he will play a major role in the upcoming Hell arc of the manga. Radio Con Golden is a bonus feature that was included within the Japanese exclusive game Bleach Blade Battlers 2nd. This special segment includes a a 3D model of Kon interacting with several characters from Bleach like Hiyori and Rukia. Radio Kon Golden is worth checking out for the strange 3D janky animation of Kon with his guests who appear in a 2D animation style. This bonus feature is available to watch on YouTube or if you have a copy of Blade Battler's Second for the PS2. There are in fact 2 Bleach light novels that I've yet to speak about. This is because they are the most obscure and lesser known out of all of the untranslated Bleach light novels. Both of these novels were authored by Makoto Matsubara and they were illustrated by Tite Kubo. The first novel is called Bleach Letters from the Other Side. It was released in Japan on the 15th of December 2004. It tells us a slice of life story which is set within the early chapters of the manga. It's a really wholesome look into the daily lives of the characters. The second novel, Bleach The Honey Dish Rhapsody, released in Japan on the 30th of October 2006. This novel is set during the week that Ichigo and his friends spent within the Soul Society after Sosuke Aizen's betrayal. It tells a heartwarming story where Rukia attempts to make sweets for Byakuya as she switches to making him spicy curry with Ichigo's help as they both misunderstand what Byakuya likes. The story ends with Rukia making him rice porridge, which Byakuya appreciates. Rukia's iconic drawings, while being unique, do bear a striking resemblance to Miffy, the rabbit character created by Dutch author Dick Bruna in 1955. Miffy's popularity in Japan can be linked to the stylistic similarity to characters like Hello Kitty. Unlike Sanrio, the creators of Hello Kitty who are willing to collaborate with any brand from Godzilla to even Bleach, Miffy rarely ever collaborated with other franchises. This is because of the protectiveness of Bruna over his creation. This protectiveness is what may have influenced Kubo to design the rabbit-like drawings of Rukia to be similar but different to Miffy. Volume 4 of the Jump Ryu series focused on Tite Kubo. This special insight into Kubo's art and working style released on the 18th of February 2016. Jump Ryu reveals a plethora of details about the creator of Bleach, including Kubo's creative process, his childhood passion for drawing, his early influences, and how he was encouraged by his teachers to pursue art. We also learn about Kubo's interest in fashion, which is evident in the color spreads of the manga, which helps to give Bleach a unique aesthetic. Also, his interest in karate, which contributes to the dynamic action scenes that he draws. Kubo's work schedule was also revealed, as we learn that on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday he storyboards. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday he does inking, and on Friday he takes a day off. Kubo reveals that he is the type of person who needs inspiration to start working. He plays around during the day and he ends up writing his storyboards in a short amount of time in the evening. Despite this unconventional way of working, Kubo is never late in handing in his work. Jump Ryu Volume 4 also came with a DVD allowing fans to see Kubo's workspace, his CD collection, as well as his memorabilia that he has collected over the years. We also get to see Kubo draw the cover for the Bleach 13 Blades data book, and it's incredible seeing Kubo draw. He is just insanely talented. The footage can be seen on YouTube and I highly recommend that all of you check it out. Within Bleach, the royal family is mentioned several times, but we learn a lot about this concept during the 1000 Year Blood War arc and within the Can't Fear Your Own World light novels. Initially, we assumed that the royal family existed in a traditional sense, but it becomes evident that the royal family only consists of 2 members, the Soul King and his son Yhwach. The Soul King is basically an empty husk who exists as the glue that holds reality together. This is further complicated by the existence of several sentient body parts of the Soul King. The Zero Division and the noble families maintain the order that is established by the ancestors of the noble families, with the Central 46 and the Gote 13 under the impression that they are working in the name of the Soul King, who they believe to be their god. Episode 14 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime complicated matters by hinting at the existence of a Soul Queen via Yhwach's mother, who is seen holding him as a baby during a flashback of his origins. It does make you wonder if more details about Yhwach and his royal family will be revealed during Core 3 of the anime. Did you know that Ichigo's Quincy heritage was foreshadowed really early on in the story? The first obvious piece of foreshadowing is the Quincy cross present on Ichigo's bedsheets from the very first chapter and episode. It is a detail that is easily overlooked, but it is very significant in hindsight. Also, from the very first chapter, when Rukia had intended to transfer a portion of her spirit energy to Ichigo, instead all of her power ended up being transferred to him. This demonstrates that Ichigo has the innate Quincy ability to rapidly absorb Reishi. There are other instances, like Odoman Zangetsu using Ichigo's Quincy powers to help him in chapter 112, when he utilizes Blutveen in order to restrict Ichigo's blood flow, thus stopping the bleeding from the critical wound that he sustains against Kinpachi. When chapter 499 of Bleach released, there was a lot of controversy from fans. They were upset about the fate of Byakuya Kuchiki, who appeared to have died against Aznod. Contrary to popular belief, Kubo never intended to kill Byakuya during his battle against Aznod. This misconception fueled rumors that Kubo was forced to keep Byakuya alive because of fan backlash and alleged death threats. But Kubo cleared this up during an interview included within the Bleach Jet art book. He reveals that character deaths in Bleach are not dependent upon the injuries that the character sustains or because of them luckily surviving an encounter. Kubo only includes deaths in the story if they coincide with the conclusion of the character's journey by wrapping up their respective character arc. He adds that no character was kept alive because of fan backlash, and this includes Byakuya. Kubo writes Bleach without paying attention to pressure that he receives from fans who try to steer his story towards a certain direction, which ultimately isn't faithful to what he has planned. Byakuya needed to remain alive in order to fulfill his role later in the story, when Kubo ended up writing him helping Rukia as he ultimately acknowledges her and her newfound power. Bleach concept covers are a unique compilation album series which feature the voice actors from the Bleach anime singing several different opening and ending songs from the anime. The first album, Concept Covers, released on the 15th of December 2010. It features 15 tracks that are sung not only by Ichigo but also by several Gotei 13 captains and their lieutenants. The songs range from iconic themes like Bleach Opening 1 Asterisk, which is performed by Ichigo's voice actor, to Bleach Opening 4, which is sung by Kinpachi's voice actor. The second album, Concept Covers 2, released on the 14th of December 2011. It continues the same format, but this time there are 14 songs. Unlike the first album, this one features the Arrancar voice actors alongside Ichigo and Rukia's VAs who are also performing. There are some incredible covers here, like Xyle Aparo's voice actor singing Bleach Opening 6 Alons, and Grimjow's voice actor singing Bleach Ending 24 Echoes. These albums are really nostalgic, and it is amazing hearing the voice actors sing some of the most iconic, memorable Bleach openings and endings. You can find the covers on YouTube, and the albums are still available for purchase, so definitely do go and listen to them. Finally, we have reached the deepest layer of the Bleach Berg, the Abyss. I've reserved the strangest, least known details about Bleach for this cursed layer. This is stuff that people would rather forget. I doubt that anyone but the most dedicated, die-hard fans will know about the secrets that dwell here. So for the last time, join me as we end our descent down the Bleach Berg. In 2016, it was revealed that a love hotel named Burning was making headlines for using a logo that looked strikingly similar to the Bleach logo. This unauthorized use of the Bleach logo was first noticed by users on the 2chan forum, who were speaking about the striking resemblance between the two logos. This establishment called Burning is identified as a fuzoku, a term that is associated with the adult entertainment industry in Japan. They had pretty much repurposed the iconic Bleach logo in order to attract customers, a move that had sparked controversy amongst fans. This infringement caught the attention of Shueisha, the publisher of Bleach, leading to swift action to remove the branding from the Love Hotel. This inappropriate use of the Bleach logo design was stopped by Shueisha, who took action to take down the branding, which blatantly infringed on the Bleach logo, and they had ended up tarnishing the brand by associating it with degeneracy. Some of the images of the burning Love Hotel have the 2015 Google marking, which indicates that they were taken from Google Street View a year before it was found out, and brought to the attention of the right right holders. This discovery back in October 2016 coincided with a period of scarce news for the Bleach series. This was following the abrupt end of the Bleach manga, as well as there being no signs of the anime even returning. This added to the frustrations of the fans during this challenging time. The Bleach manga volumes can be found with a rare, unique hardcover within libraries across the US. These special library editions are designed for the heavy use that books face within the public library setting. They are basically regular paperback manga volumes which have been reinforced with a custom printed hardcover board by the library. This enhances the durability of the book for high frequency borrowing. These hardcover versions, while not official products, do look incredible, and they can sometimes be found on eBay for a ridiculous price. Let me know if you have ever encountered these hardcover Bleach manga volumes. A Japanese adult entertainer named Takuya had become an internet meme when he parodied Kubo's name and appearance and called himself KB Tit. Fans had started to edit Takuya over images of Kubo, and the situation became so bad that when you searched Kubo's name into Google Japan, it would show a plethora of KB Tit images, with Kubo's Wikipedia page also being vandalized to say that Kubo is the adult entertainment star KB Tit. The meme became so widespread that some fans had started to believe it to be true, leading to Kubo's official Twitter account being spammed with these edited images. The situation reached its peak in September 2015 when Kubo's Twitter account was deleted. Shueisha, the Japanese publisher of Bleach, issued a statement saying false photos originating on Twitter are being spread online and they're being passed off as photos of Kubo, and that such acts infringe upon the personal rights of Tite Kubo. They then proceeded to threaten legal action against anyone who's responsible for sharing these images. During the time that all of this was happening, Bleach Brave Souls was newly releasing, and they had banned KB Tit from being registered as a nickname on the game. Apparently, 60,000 players had already registered with the name before the ban was enforced. In December 2019, a cosplayer dressed up as KB Tit posted images on Twitter which ended up getting 30,000 likes, proving that the scandal is still popular amongst the Japanese Bleach fans. Following the 2011 raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, the CIA released files that were found from his computer. They uncovered a lot of unexpected details about the Al-Qaeda leader's life. They found that either bin Laden or someone accessing his computer, like his children, had a massive collection of emulated games as well as anime series. The hard drive contained several popular anime like Naruto, Dragon Ball, and even Bleach. To confirm all of this, I looked through the CIA files that are available online, and I'd found that he had the second Bleach movie downloaded on his hard drive, The Diamond Dust Rebellion. It is insane to think that the man responsible for the September 11 attacks was watching anime and playing the Bleach DS games. A lot of people have commented that it's more realistic to assume that these files belong to children who were using his computer at the time. But I mean, if you're hiding in a cave for years, it's not too hard to believe that he'd end up becoming a weeb. So on that delightful note, this brings us to an end to the Bleachberg. This video would not have been possible without the incredible work of Reddit user DoitfortheCringe. They also go by the name Soul Silver on Instagram, so definitely check out their Reddit post, which has a full image of the Bleach Iceberg along with an accompanying guide which explains every entry. I have linked their Reddit post and Instagram page in the description of this video, so definitely go and show them some love. Their initial work laid out the foundations for the structure of the Bleach Iceberg, which I was able to build upon with my own research. To be as comprehensive as possible, all of this has easily taken over 6 months to compile together, so it's definitely been a massive undertaking for everyone involved. From the writing to the editing, it's been insane. If you guys enjoyed this Iceberg video and you want to see me do more comprehensive videos like this on other series, then let me know by leaving your suggestions in the comments. What obscure fact or detail about Bleach caught you the most by surprise? There was definitely a lot of stuff about the series that even I didn't know about prior to making this video, so I look forward to hearing about your favorite pieces of information in the comments. Honestly, you have my eternal gratitude if you have made it up until this point in the video, especially if you watch this all in one sitting. This has been one of the longest videos that me and my team have worked on, so if you enjoyed it, do consider subscribing and supporting the channel via Patreon so that I can continue to make more content like this. I had a ton of fun working on this video, and I'm just glad that the Bleach fandom finally has their very own comprehensive Iceberg video. Now lastly, I want to give you all a final thank you for watching the Bleach Iceberg Explained, and I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.